amend
care.
it.
The
to-
only thing I was going to say too. This wasn't yours, was it? It was back in there the other day, so I swiped it. I didn't know if you would put one there for emergency. Yeah, because it's emergency. I don't have one, so it's an emergency. No, I'm good. Oh, yeah, that's cool. As long as there's like I leave it there, but when I came in tonight, Christine was here, and I didn't know if it was hers, so I got to look that way. Yeah, I probably have a drawer or someplace that's loaded with pens, but it's never where I need them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't. I'm constantly looking for a pen. Yeah, have like those little highlighters, pens. That's something to think about.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the regular meeting 2 of the Swatara Township Board of Commissioners. It's June 10th, and the time is 7:02 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. You may be seated. Secretary Savage is not here this evening, so Manager Trafka, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Connolly?
Here.
Commissioner Ray?
Here.
Commissioner Douglas?
Here.
Vice President Steele?
Here.
President Ellis?
Here.
Madam President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And this board did not have an executive session this evening prior to the meeting. We're up to item 6 now, swearing in of K9 Axel.
You might want to just sit until this could be a hurry up and wait. Because, but
Right. Blend it right in.
there we go.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, man, he's young and lean.
Good evening. My name's Ken Lanker. I'm your judge. Also, usually when we give the oath, I say repeat after me. So I'm going to do this a little different this time, and I'm just going to read it to Axel. Okay.
He can bark after you.
I, Axel, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend in both word and spirit the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the laws and statutes of Pennsylvania, and the ordinances of Swatara Township, and all the lawful orders and directives, as well as verbal and as well as written by ranked personnel, to the best of my ability, and that I would discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. I pledge to uphold, obey, and enforce said laws and ordinances fairly and without consideration to a person's race, color, sex, religion, creed, sexual orientation, age, national origin, ancestry, handicap, or disability. Taking this oath the 10th day of June, 2026. Can I shake your hand?
No, we're gonna do
Scott, you wanna be
pictures.
the official photographer for all of
You want to get a photo?
we're gonna keep you for a little bit, and I'm not gonna say soup bone, but our photographer
Just did.
will do multiple. So after we get the judge, the handler, and Axel, then we do family, anything you want, and then we'll go last with the commissioners.
We get out of the way.
And Axel. So we'll get out of the way for whatever's happening now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Superintendent Stauffer? Yes, sir. We're gonna have you. Are we? Okay.
More like I'm reading yours.
Will the clapping bother him?
Maybe.
All right. I was gonna let it go then. Awesome.
He was like freaking out when we clapped the first time. A little bit.
Got it. Yep.
You ready? You worry about that next one. That's
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it.
All right, we're up to item 7, visitors' requests and comments. I say this every meeting, we're going to try to keep this to about 30 minutes. We do have a visitors' requests and comments section again at item 16. If you have comments, you can come forward, state your name and address, as well as write it down for record-keeping purposes, and then you may begin.
Good evening. If I may I approach?
Sure. Sure. I'm going to share with you.
Was gonna give one. These are pictures of a property at South 46th Street in York. I'm here on behalf of my neighbors who said they have called with concern about this property, and it just seems like nothing is getting done. Um, Myself, I think it's a safety hazard. Um, on the picture, you can see there's a fairly large tree that looks like it could come down at any moment. Um, and one of my biggest fears is that I don't think it's occupied. Um, One of my concerns is if kids would break into it and possibly start a fire, getting trapped, then we have to depend on our firefighters to go in and try to make a rescue, and God knows what the inside of the house looks like. And I just think it's a big concern, a safety hazard, and I think it's something that should be looked into rather quickly.
Appreciate you bringing this to us.
Yep.
We're familiar with the property.
I'm not familiar with the property.
Okay.
However, I'm sure Omar is.
Yeah,
We'll look at it tomorrow.
we'll look and see where it's at in the process.
Yeah.
Doubt very seriously if it's not in the process, but if it isn't, we thank you for bringing it to our attention. And can you update Mr. Harvey then tomorrow on where we're at? Because unfortunately, when something looks terrible like that, that's private property. That belongs to someone who's not taking care of
Right.
it.
Yeah. And like
They
I say,
have
I don't know if it's occupied.
They have rights that tend to infringe upon the neighbors and things like that. So we get into the process, then usually there's so many days that they're, allowed to be cited, and then there's a lot of different procedures. But I mean that I see a few flowers in there, but they weren't planted
Yeah.
by a homeowner.
Yeah.
They're-
I I walk up there quite a bit, and I've never seen anybody coming in or out of it. So it may not be occupied, but like you say, somebody needs to be responsible for it and keep it decent looking because our neighborhood's nice. The people keep their yards mowed and their house is taken care of, and when you come out of your front door, you don't want to look at something like that.
No, I agree. And
Understandable.
unfortunately, we have 9,200 properties, and every year there are
Yeah,
too many
yeah,
that
I
aren't
understand that.
maintained,
Yeah.
and that's why we have codes. And but appreciate you bringing that to our attention,
Yep.
and we'll certainly take whatever steps that we can to make the improvement as fast as we can.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sanjay.
Do we have any other visitors' requests and comments at this time?
Thank you. See ya. Congratulations.
Good evening. Christine Zubek, 6840 Diallo Drive. Just a couple comments I wanted to make. First, I want to start with the roads in our township. I think that I'm not sure. This is no disrespect to staff or anybody who's maintaining our roads, but I do think that there's quite a few potholes and issues with our roads in a township. It's getting worse. I haven't seen it like this in quite a while, and I just want to, reiterate for many of the residents that I've spoken with in conversation. I think we can all agree that potholes are dangerous for people. They're a safety issue. They can, ruin your vehicle as well. And I would like to see some of them filled. And there are some along Derry Street, which I know is not under the township's jurisdiction. I get cut off.
No, they go in and out.
That's
so
okay.
I apologize, but yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, so I know that some of them on Derry Street are not under the township's jurisdiction, but I would like to encourage someone to reach out to PennDOT and ask if they can be filled. And then on the issue of the gaming tax, skill games tax, I just wanted to reiterate. I don't know that the residents had in mind what looks like the equivalent of a mini casino on Derry Street, where you have a 24/7 operation. I understand. I'm all for business and pro business, but I've spoken to a lot of people that said they knew nothing about it until it was there, and it's as long as everything goes well, it's fine. It's concerned, but it is not your typical skill games venue where you go into a gas station or a market and they have a couple of skill games in the corner. I mean, this is a full blown, in my opinion, mini casino operation. And then on the data centers, you have a document in your possession that I provided when I was on the board quite a few months ago. And some of those things might not be relevant anymore, the suggestions that I made, but there are some that are still relevant. And I do want to point out for the commissioners that I don't know of any other place that has their own water source. That is something that's just not really done. And when you have your own water source, you are responsible for your own regulations, which is why a lot of them do not do that. They typically go through the utility, and the utility is more highly regulated, so that's more amenable. And the utility also contracts with the data centers so that there can be, proper regulation, but also they do an infrastructure assessment to ensure that the proper infrastructure is in place. And if it's not in place, then it's the responsibility of the developer to ensure that they pay for those infrastructural improvements. So I do just want to make sure that everybody's doing their due diligence and ensuring the protection of our township as well as its resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other visitors' requests and comments at this time?
Hi, my name is Sarah Pinter.
Could you state your address before you start?
Yes, 2010 Green Street.
2010 Queen.
Yes. Sorry, trying to get back to my comments here, and I promise I will be more brief than last time. I just wanted to put in a request before we get started that any amendments related to the data center that are going to be discussed tonight can be read aloud to the group, since it was not put online and did not give us the opportunity to review beforehand. So that would be greatly appreciated. And I also was hoping that the board might be able to explain either now in direct response or maybe perhaps later during the discussion what other opportunities there will be for public input now that we've are going to be able to see the document after tonight. So thank you for considering those questions, and thank you again for your time and effort spent in improving the zoning ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else? All right. Going to go ahead and move to item 8, a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to amend the agenda. Item 13 should say approval of Jamesport project award of bid to, what's that,
Rogel.
Rogel, which was the actual lowest responsible bidder. So that changed. And I didn't see any other change that should have been on there.
All right. We have a motion to amend the agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? And then just for the public, when we get to the item, I'll go over why there was a change. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Madam President, I actually do have.
Yes.
You're moving fast. Moving too fast. The on here when I looked at the schematics for everything, there is a porta john next to a resident's house for this park.
Can we do that when we get to that item?
Is it okay?
Yeah.
We good with that. I thought it was part of this item. All right, we'll do that.
Okay, thank you. So that's just the amend. Can we do it? You just did the amend. Or just do
Yeah,
it to
that was mine. Was
approve
just to
now?
amend it. Yeah,
Okay.
approve the amendment.
And now I'll entertain the motion to approve.
Motion.
We have a motion. I'll second. Do you have any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're up to item 9, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Just this one small piece. Kevin, look into item B, because I think a prior board had put a policy in because that was a seasonal position, a compost position, that we left that at the discretion of the township manager. I remember seeing something to that nature, that when we hire that position each year, that was at the discretion of the township manager just because it was seasonal part-time. So just looking at that, that's all.
I appreciate the information.
Yep.
All right. Does anyone have anything else? All right, hearing nothing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're up to consideration of minutes for May 6th and May 13th. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. All right, we're up to 11, Buildings and Codes Department, and I'll turn it over to Director Golden.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. The first item on your agenda for my department is the consideration of the ordinance to the addition of a skill-based gaming device tax on operators and distributors. This has been properly advertised in Penn Live and in the newspaper, and it's ready for adoption.
Thank you. Does anyone have any discussion or well, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion with regard to the ordinance?
I do. Just so I understand it, Zach, so the person that owns the machine will have to obtain a license, and then whoever the owner where that machine is will also have to obtain a license.
That's correct.
Okay. And I guess the fee is it reasonable that I don't know how much time you're going to spend on this because I don't know how many we have in the township.
We have approximately 250 that we know of. So it is going to be a substantial undertaking for my department, but we believe we can do it.
And as Director Zubek indicated, because I filled a call on the same thing, I guess a business that would want to put 10, 15, 20, 30 of these machines in one place, how would they be labeled as such as someone that just has them in a gas station?
Yeah, so that was a really unique situation. However, we are proposing to fix that issue that we identified in our zoning amendment, which I'll get into when we go over the zoning amendment.
Okay.
However, we did identify that was an issue, and we're looking to fix that. Okay. Unfortunately, there was a little loophole in our zoning ordinance.
Got it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have?
Yeah, I have additional discussion. I had some of the same concerns that we heard earlier. It's not considered gambling, so it doesn't fall under any of the rules of casinos. And they're popping up everywhere. And at the state level, it seems like they're kind of hands off. That there's no regulations. It's obvious that they compete with the funds that would go for other things, and one of those other things would be state regulated gambling that returns money back to the community. So for now, we're pretty much limited into what we can do. This came about with citizens recommending that we look into this. We actually had citizens bring us model ordinances from other communities, and I think it's a good way to at least monitor, if not officially regulate, what's going on. And on the specific location that has these under the old ordinance, it was coming in as an arcade. We've seen neighboring municipalities, and as soon as we saw what was going on, we tried to take actions to possibly mitigate or prevent that from being an ongoing thing. But unfortunately, and I'm saying this as a person, I'm not a gambler at all, really. So it's interesting to me how things have changed when you stop at any gas station, store, that they have these things. I never would have thought this would have happened. And there was a time when I was much younger that these were the types of things that were rated and regulated, and they were hidden, and now they're right out in the open. I've never played, so I don't know how much skill it really takes. It looks to me like what I've seen in a casino, that you're just playing and playing and playing and hoping for a jackpot. And if you win, I guess great. If you lose, and that affects your family, that's at this point your decision. But I certainly support this to get some type of revenue for the township, to get into the businesses, to see how many they have, and make sure that everybody complies. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Do we have any other discussion or questions at this time? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's going to be ordinance O-2026-4. We're up to 11B, consideration of financial security release for 5590 Dairy Street.
Yes, so this was for an addition to to the rear of the property. Their stormwater management is now in place, and we're recommending a full release, as is HRG.
Thank you. Do we have, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion is, I'll second as long as it complies with the release and requirements with the finance department and zoning and codes. Added that to it, Mr. Conley.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And now we're up to 11C, consideration of forwarding a proposed amendment to the subdivision and land development ordinance and zoning ordinance to the county, township, and planning commissions for review and comment.
All right. Brendan, I'm trying to get it on. All right, so I'll get started. So I have a 36-page document here that the vast majority of it was reviewed, recommended by the Planning Commission. So for those who do not know, we have a very active and a great Planning Commission here in Swatara Township who's very proactive, and they usually every year provide recommendations to the Board of Commissioners on outdated ordinances in the subdivision and land development ordinance, which tonight I'll call the SALDO, and also the zoning ordinance. The SALDO and zoning ordinance, as planners are taught, is a living and breathing documents. So they're always changing. So our planning commission is very proactive and wants to update that. Also, as we all know, there's been many concerned citizens regarding data centers coming out and speaking regarding pros and cons and adding additional protections. So my committee chairperson, Commissioner Connolly, directed me to look into these deeper. We were provided very great model ordinances from our residents and also from others that are outside of our boundaries, which is okay as well. Commissioner Connolly, myself, and Manager Traffic have spent a lot of hours on this, and that one side's not mine.
Brendan, are you shopping?
Well, at least it was just that, yeah.
Brian.
Just put your credit card number up there.
So we did a lot of research. So we weren't ignoring you for the past couple months. It was just a lot of information to digest. So I was really glad to hear at your last week's meeting that one of the group's favorite ordinances is tri-counties. We took tri-counties and we tweaked it, minor tweaks with our solicitor's office, and I would say about 98% of that ordinance is within this document. So I will go through everything. I'm not going to read word for word. To answer the question from the lady from Harrisburg City, I believe, the process is if the board so chooses tonight, they will forward this ordinance either as it is or as amended to the Township's Planning Commission and also the county's Planning Commission. They are afforded a minimum 30-day review. So if that occurs tonight, our Planning Commission for the Township will review the ordinance in its entirety at the July 14th meeting here in this exact room at 7 p.m. Tri-County has a really good staff. They will most likely provide their review by then. However, they have 30 days to do so. However, if I'm a betting man, they're going to have it before then. Also because the vast majority of it is from their model ordinance. So if all goes well, the Planning Commission reviews it, provides comments, say they recommend approval of it. It then gets shot back to the Board of Commissioners for a public hearing, which you will be made aware of well in advance of the public hearing. It goes into the newspaper, it goes into Penn Live, and then the board historically has voted on the amendment the same night as the public hearing. So that's the process. typically a 90-day process. However, it can go faster if we need to. However, we have to follow state regulated guidelines. All right, so I'm going to dig into this. Please interrupt me, board, if you have any questions, and then we'll go from there.
Before you go, I just want to, the question had come from inside this room and other people have asked. So, if this moves forward tonight, for the review, can it be posted on our township page tomorrow?
Yes,
So
so
that everybody sees, okay.
if the
So
board,
so I know what's being reviewed and what's, even though the planning commission doesn't meet till July 14th,
yes,
once, if it moves forward tonight with a affirmative vote here, then, would it be safe to say that we could get it up tomorrow?
yes. So I am off tomorrow. However, I will have John put it up in, if
Okay.
it's not amended by the board tonight.
Gotcha.
If it's amended by the board tonight, I need one additional day, and I promise it will be up on Friday. Because I will need to tweak it based on their comments. So tomorrow, Friday at the latest. But thank you, I forgot that.
Thank you.
All right. So hopefully this doesn't freeze on me. So section 253(7) of the SALDO, again, subdivision land development ordinance, has a definition section. The first definition we're looking to amend is landowner. The MPC, the Municipal Planning Code, has definitions, and townships and boroughs they're not required. However, it's strongly recommended by the solicitor's office to have the exact definitions as the MPC. So we're gonna update the landowner to be exactly for the MPC. Common open space. The board and the planning commission recommended a change in 2025 to common open space. However, we did not update the SALDO common open space. So we saw there was a discrepancy between the zoning and the SALDO definition. So we fixed that. The only change in that we are recommending is the portions of land have a width of cannot have a width of less than 50 feet. Right now it's 40 feet, and there's a discrepancy between the both. Public meeting, exact same thing, exactly as the MPC states public meeting. Chapter 253 of the SALDO, we are recommending that we require all developments, land developments, have a developer's agreement. What a developer's agreement is agreement between the municipality and the developer that sets rules and regulations on their development. So, for example, if they destroy a road, they're going to be required to fix it. If they're putting in curbing, if they're putting in sidewalk, they have to meet certain specs. They have to do financial security. We have to always have a certificate of liability, the workers' compensation, et cetera, et cetera. This township, since I started working here, we have been requiring land developments, we have been requiring developers agreements. However, this solidifies it into the ordinance, and we won't have any fights going forward with developers that say, hey, it's not in your ordinance. Well, now it is. Also, this gets recorded at the Dauphin County Recorder's Deeds Office at the expense of the developer. So it gets recorded with the land development. So it's an extra protection for the township. Section 253(13), final plat procedures. So final plats can be subdivisions or they can be land developments. This was a recommendation by our solicitor's office. We incorrectly had that final plans expire within 12 months. However, per the MPC, it's actually 5 years. So we had to fix that. That's state mandated. Chapter 253, SALDO. We are strongly recommending that we have a traffic impact studies section in our ordinance. So what this does, all residential properties involving 25 or more dwelling units and non-residential involving 50 or more parking spaces or at least 200 new average daily trips or 20 peak hour trips established in the most recent edition of the ITE trip generation manual are required to have a traffic study. For those of you that are here for the data center, don't worry, we put that in the use specific criteria. They're still required to have a traffic study, even if they don't meet those minimum requirements. So we do have a traffic engineer on our planning commission. So we've had an expert review this. We've also had Dahlwood, who is now Woolpert, review this, and we're comfortable that these are strong enough requirements that they are basically copy and paste from PennDOT's publications. So whatever PennDOT requires, we also require for traffic studies. All traffic studies are reviewed by the township engineer at the cost of the developer. So this solidifies that all developments meeting this criteria provide that to us. This was one that I caught. It's really minor. The Saldo, section 253.21, entitled Stormwater Management. Before it said a stormwater management plan shall be implemented and storm drainage facilities shall be installed in conformance with the plan. However, we do have chapter 247 called stormwater management in our ordinances, so we thought it would be better to have it, directing back to that stormwater management chapter. Very minor. 253.24, entitled Recreation and Open Space. We saw, I'm not going to name the development, but that was recently approved. However, the Planning Commission and myself in particular, the open space requirements right now, if a developer has a 20% open space and it's junk wooded area, wet area, that's not technically a floodplain, but it's wet or just areas that are not valuable land, they can say that's their open space and they don't have to pay a fee in lieu of. We want to fix that. We want open space to actually be open space, and we also want it to have maybe a playground component, passive and active recreation, not just open 20% of the area. So we're recommending that at least 50% of the land required meet the definition of active recreation, and then a maximum of 25% meet the passive recreation. 295 5E3 permits and certificates. We found it's not an error. However, talking with our solicitor's office, a lot of municipalities put a expiration on their zoning permits. That's to protect the township from if something is approved and then change the ordinance 12 months later, if nothing has happened, they haven't applied for the permits or they've applied for it but have done nothing, the permit expires in 12 months. So that's a good protection for the township. So 295.22, this is the zoning ordinance. 295 is the zoning ordinance. Bear with me here, but I'm going to explain these, but just at a little bit later time. So for this particular section, we're recommending we eliminate the uses of trucking company terminal, unit for care of relative, and warehouse. But I'll explain that in a couple seconds. Section 295.22 of the zoning ordinance entitled Definitions. We're amending and adding the definitions of accessory apartment, amusement arcade, and I'll explain these in a second, backup generator, distribution and or logistics center. We're amending data center. We're adding data center accessory uses, adding data center equipment. We're adding fulfillment center and or return center. We're adding sensitive receptors. We're adding terminal rail and or truck and freight terminals, and wholesale sales. So I'm not going to read word for word, but I'll kind of explain why we're doing this. So currently, accessory apartments are regulated by care of a relative unit, which is the Planning Commission and myself found it very strange. So more and more common people are living with their kids or their kids are living with them. However, our ordinance is very restrictive that person living in an accessory dwelling unit has to have some kind of illness and they have to be over a certain age. We found that kind of strange. So what we did was we got rid of the care for a unit of a relative, and we made it an accessory apartment. So if your kid that's 20 years old, you want them to live with you, they will be able to do that with this ordinance, as long as they meet the use specific criteria, which we'll talk about in a later section. But I just wanted to explain that quickly. Amusement arcade. Miss Zubek was right. It's a strange use in that area, and I agree 110%. I believe Commissioner Connolly agreed as well, as he explained. There's a loophole currently in our ordinance where the former property owner, they actually no longer own that, used the amusement arcade as a loophole. They did this in another neighboring municipality as well. As Commissioner Colony said, this is not currently defined as a betting use in our ordinance because it's not a legal gambling machine that's regulated by the PA lottery or the however the casinos are regulated. So we're fixing that. We're adding a definition for the actual use of amusement arcade because we didn't have it before. Every single use should be defined in our ordinance. So that's what we do. And we actually state that the betting uses shall not be permitted as an amusement arcade. So we believe that will fix the problem. I spoke with our solicitor's office. We believe that's going to fix the loophole. Backup generator. This is straight from the model ordinance for Tri-County. So I'm not going to read through that. For distribution and or logistics center and fulfillment center and or return center and terminal, rail and or truck and freight terminals. After an issue we had on High Spire Road, we sat down with our solicitor's office and tried to figure out how can we fix those kind of issues moving forward. What we came up with is getting rid of the warehouse use altogether and breaking them down more specifically tailored to these specific uses, which are typically warehouses. I'll let you read through those. However, we believe that's better than just saying warehouse. Warehouse is very broad, and there's so many types of warehouses, and we try to tailor those into 3 separate categories. And we'll explain where they're be permitted. Nothing's changed in that way, but we'll explain that a little bit later. Data center, we did have a definition for data center. However, we completely eliminated it, and we use the definition from Tri-County Regional Planning. Also, we added data center accessory uses, which I won't read through, and data center equipment, which we stole right from Tri-County Regional Planning's model ordinance. Sensitive receptors, also straight from the model ordinance. Basically, what a sensitive receptor is it's not typical. It's not just tailored towards data centers. However, it is in this ordinance for here. A sensitive receptor is residential uses, residential districts, schools, hospitals, nursing homes, churches, community centers, campgrounds, dormitories, public parks. So basically areas that are sensitive to industrial type uses. So that's straight from there. We didn't adjust that at all. Wholesale sales. This was another use I saw in our zoning ordinance that did not have a definition. So I worked with our solicitor's office in order to make sure that was defined. Moving on. Section 295.22, terms defined. Applicant, forestry, landowner are all the definitions in the MPC. So we took the exact definitions, copied and pasted it from the MPC, brought it over to our ordinance so we're protected. Massage establishment, the board, or we went through and we updated a lot of ordinances, and when we were doing this, we were talking about chapter 186, massage parlors. Our solicitor's office recommended that we update this to state a personal service establishment who provides non-sexually orientated massage therapy services to patrons by employees. Mobile home, manufactured home. mobile home, manufactured home park, non-conforming lot, non-conforming structure, all again MPC. Copy paste. Open space, common or preserved. This is in our zoning ordinance now. We previously talked about our Saldo ordinance. The only thing we changed here was the 40 to 50 feet. So we made them the same. Public notice, street and structure, MPC. Moving on to the use table, zoning ordinance 295-28G. As we just discussed, we changed some use names. So the unit for care of relative we struck out, then we added the accessory apartment. As you can see, we did not change any of the zoning districts of being permitted, not permitted. Sorry, I'm cutting out a little bit. 295-28. We did the same exact thing. Updated accessory apartment. We eliminated massage establishment, and the reason why is because we have a use called personal services. So personal services is a very broad definition for beauty salons, massage establishments. So instead of specifically calling out massage establishment, it's covered under the broad personnel services. It's not going to be permitted in any new districts. It's going to be exactly the same. The new uses that we just talked about, as you can see, we cut out warehousing as a storage principal use, warehousing as an on-site accessory use, and we created our new uses here. And as you can see, we are adding additional protections for these as special exception in this zoning district, which is ML and MG. So distribution, logistics, fulfillment, terminal rails. These are highly trafficked areas with trucks coming in every minute and out every minute. So we felt that was appropriate to be special exception.
Before you go on, Zach,
Sure.
just for the public, special exception would be zoning hearing board.
That's correct. Zoning hearing board. Okay. Next, 295-55-1. This is wireless communication facilities. So we saw in here, so I had a couple applications for small wireless communication facilities. So for those who are not aware, these are the typical 5G boxes. They're usually 3 to 4 feet in height, sometimes 5, and they go on top of a utility pole, usually. One of the requirements was that the applicant provide proof that they mailed property owners within 150 feet of the proposed small wireless facility a notice that the applicant is submitting an application to the township for the placement or modification of this small wireless facility. We got pushback from the small wireless facility applicant. They argued that it wasn't in the Small Wireless Facility Act of Pennsylvania. I checked with our solicitor's office. They agreed. It was a rule that we could not put in place. So we're recommending, since that's not in the act, we're recommending it be removed. Also, we didn't see really reason for it. If I received a notice at my house that a wireless facility was being placed 150 feet, even though it's good to know for me to know, you can't make any difference because it's regulated by the state. We have to allow it. Also for 295-55, it's randomly placed in the middle of an alphabetical use table. So I'm recommending that wireless communication facilities be pushed to the bottom of the use table. It's just a grammatical error. That's pretty annoying. Same with the regulation of the small wireless facility. It gets pushed down to the bottom of the use table. All right. So while everybody's here, section 295-57-1. So this is use-specific criteria for data centers. As you all know, we had 2 use-specific criteria that was in this section existing. This would be removed, and instead of it being spread out throughout the entirety of our ordinance, we put everything into this table. So so it's easy to read for the public. Even though we had a lot of these regulations in other areas of the ordinance, we felt it would be better to put it in one specific use table. So I'll read through these, and like I said, it's a lot of it's copy and pasted straight from Tri-County Regional's model ordinance. Dimensional standards, minimum tract size 50 continuous acres, and I'm not going to compare and contrast. I'll let you guys do that. There are minor, very minor differences. However, let me read through it. Maximum impervious coverage 75%. Maximum gross building coverage 50%. Minimum lot width at the building line 100 feet. Maximum height 105 feet, exclusive of roof mounted equipment such as cooling and ventilation systems, etc. No mechanical accessory equipment mounted on the roof shall exceed 20 feet in height on top of the roof edge. The maximum height of accessory uses no greater than the height of the data center principal building. Parapets shall not exceed 20 feet. Minimum setbacks. Data centers shall be set back a minimum of 210 feet from the nearest adjoining property's lot line. Accessory uses and equipment shall be comply with the mixed use district. Parking, loading requirements, parking setbacks, 50 feet from public road right of ways, 50 feet from all property lines. Parking, loading, and driveway setbacks shall be 100 feet from any lot line for adjoining tracts of residential uses. Parking requirements, minimum one off-street parking space for every 8,000 square foot of floor area. Designed and intended to be accessible regularly by employees. One thing we know about data centers through many ordinances is there's not many employees on site, so we feel that would be appropriate. So it's less impervious as well. Parking area design, I'll let you read through that. Loading, delivery areas, just as it's always has been required in ordinance, they need one loading space, off-street loading space. They are only permitted to be on one side of the data center principal building. They need to be screened from public streets and residential uses, and they shall be located on the side and rear of the building that is not adjacent to residentially zoned properties. Access, they need to have, this is with any other development, they have to have two means of ingress and egress for emergency access. That's not really specific to data centers. Every single use has to do that for emergency purposes, but we put it in here. Traffic study, as I discussed earlier, this 253.15.1, that is the requirement that I read earlier. So they're going to be required to follow those rules. Traffic studies 100% required. Building placement and orientation. Parcels divided by public roadway, land owned by a public utility but owned in a common or otherwise developed as unified development are deemed to be contiguous for purpose of all area and land mass calculations. This is a copy and paste. Building designs, they shall have facades facing public right-of-ways shall have architectural treatments. Monotone or reflective exterior materials are discouraged. This is copy and paste. External building materials should be colored that are low reflective, subtle, earth tone, so you can't have orange buildings, pink buildings. Design should be made to minimize impacts to natural resources. And then they say about the building sizes, massing, siding, architectural treatment, strongly encouraged. Again, that's a copy and paste from the model ordinance. Just Loudoun County has very strict rules and regulations. However, we have to keep in mind we're different states, and they have a lot. They allow their municipalities to heavily regulate those types of things. Pennsylvania does not. Landscape buffers. This is one of the most important areas. They are required where a proposed data center adjoins property that is existing or approved residential development or a sensitive receptor. And it has to meet the following requirements. The buffer yard shall extend the entire length of the property line. It shall comply with the following requirements. It shall be at least 70 feet in depth. It may be a part of the minimum setback distance, which that's very common. Shall not include environmental encumbrances, such as wetland transition areas, riparian buffers, flood hazard areas, as may be imposed by outside agencies. As we do allow now, existing mature tree stands, vegetation are strongly encouraged to be preserved. We don't want people cutting down a mature tree stand. So just as our zoning ordinance allows, they will be required to provide a tree study. And if they're over, I forget right now what the size of the tree is, they can use that as part of their buffer. If it's less than that, we won't allow it. They'll actually have to replace it. Landscape buffer yards along public roadways shall be measured from the street right-of-way line. They are required to be maintained through the duration of the data center. So if trees die, they are required to, trees or shrubs die, they're required to put them back. Buffer plantings. This is a copy and paste. One large evergreen tree per 30 linear feet, a buffer. Has to be a minimum size of 8 feet in height of planting. One deciduous canopy tree, this is a shade tree, per every 30 linear feet of buffer. Again, 8-foot minimum height of planting. One ornamental flowering tree per linear foot. They have to be a minimum of 8 feet. And for multi-stem varieties, and 2.5 inches caliber for single stem. Screening and fencing. Screening shall be provided for all ground-mounted and roof-mounted mechanical equipment associated with facility operations, cooling, ventilation, power generation, power supply equipment. It shall be fully enclosed. Where it's not feasible, it shall be fully screened. View from one or more of the following methods. I won't read through that, but it's saying it has to be screened. Where full enclosure is provided using a solid fence, screen wall, panel, parapet, wall, sound barriers, or compatible screening structures. It shall be constructed materials or compatible with the exterior. Water and sewer. They are required to, just as they are now, they're required to demonstrate an adequate water supply provided by a public or approved private system available to serve the proposed data use. All of this has not been changed whatsoever. It's copy and pasted from the model ordinance. Same thing with wastewater disposal. They are required to demonstrate the adequate means of wastewater disposal have been provided and approved by the sewage enforcement officer, which would be for a private system, or the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection for a public system. Noise and vibration regulations. They are required to demonstrate to us, which we'll explain here shortly, with 295-101, which we'll talk about shortly as well. That will not result in adverse impacts to adjoining properties or sensitive receptors. We do have a noise ordinance right now. However, we are proposing to amend that. As part of the land development submission, they are required to submit a noise impact study. And I'll let you read through this. I'm not a noise expert. This is from Tri-County, who I guess did a lot of research on this. We did keep the DBAs and DBCs. Right now, our ordinance currently reads DBAs. All costs for the studies will be paid for by the applicant. So it's a pre-study and it's a post-study. After construction, before construction, after construction. They should not exceed the levels, which we're about to talk about, at the property line. Backup generators, which generate noise in excess of the limits, shall not be tested between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. except for generator testing or commissioning activities. Generator use is limited to backup emergency only. Also, vibration. No vibration shall be perceptible beyond the property line. They also have to provide a vibration study prepared by a qualified professional. And they're not allowed to, it can't be perceptible to human sense of feeling beyond the property line. All costs are paid by the applicant. They are required to provide a noise reduction barrier when the post-construction monitoring demonstrates non-compliance with our limits. This is a let's see. Maximum sound levels shall not apply to emergency alerts, emergency work, or provide electricity, water, or other public utilities when public health safety is involved. That's typical. Within 2 years after issuance of certificate, after construction, the township then reserves the right at its sole discretion to engage in a third-party sound expert of its choosing to perform a post-occupancy noise study at the owner's expense. If the study finds they're in violation, they are required to come into compliance. Power, again, this is a copy and paste from the county. They're required to provide written verification. For our area, it will be PPNL, which is regulated by the PUC. Emergency management, they will have to provide signage. They'll have to let our emergency our police chief, our fire chief, and our EMS chief contact information. And they also are required to provide us an emergency response plan. So we're gonna get back to data centers. However, we're in numeric order, so it's gonna be we're gonna skip it for a couple seconds here. 295-68. As I said, we eliminated the massage establishment because we already have a personal service use. 295-91, entitled Townhouse and Apartments. This is use-specific criteria for that. As we spoke before, the developer has to provide, now they have to provide good open space, meaning it's passive and recreation, or they have to provide a fee in lieu of. It's not just allowing junk land. We then, we talked about this already, we eliminated trucking company terminal. So we also have to eliminate its use-specific criteria. We added use-specific criteria in its place for the distribution and or logistics center, the truck and freight terminal fulfillment center, and return center. It has to be 10 acres in size. It has to be an interior roadway, direct access to an arterial roadway. Loading docks, truck maneuvering shall not be less than 200 feet. Traffic studies required, buffering, photometric plan. This is talking about no truck parking and everything. I won't read through all this. Accessory uses for swimming pool. Swimming pools are now regulated by the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code. So we got rid of some of this information here about the construction code. It's called the UCC now. Still not going to be allowed 10 feet from a property line or a principal building. That's for safety reasons. But if the property line is less than 50 feet, we do reduce that to 5 feet, and it can't be close to a basement or cellar. All right. Okay, continuing on. Accessory uses. This is use-specific criteria for the accessory apartments. As we said, we wanted to add this use and get rid of the other unit for care. So we're recommending you allowed to have, the apartment can be complete. The apartment will be a complete and separate housekeeping unit that can be isolated from the original unit with its own exterior entry. Exterior entryway shall not be part of the front facade, so you're not gonna see two front doors. You're allowed one accessory apartment per single-family detached residential lot. It can be attached or detached to the primary residence. It has to match the architectural style of your residence. It has to meet your setbacks and coverage requirements per your zoning district. And when it's detached, it has to be at least 10 feet away from your primary residence. Okay. And the owners of the residence, which the accessory unit is created, shall occupy at least one of the dwelling units on the premise except for bona fide temporary absences. It has to apply for all codes. It has to be a minimum of 300 square foot of floor area. That's actually from the Uniform Construction Code. And it can't be no larger than 45% of the primary structure's total area. So basically, you can't make a duplex for yourself. You have to have at least 3 off-street parking spaces. And bear with me, I'm getting close to finishing here. All right, keep trucking. We had to update this 1.1 instead of 1. So small fix. So we do have a noise ordinance in our zoning ordinance at 295-101. We are recommending the numbers that are provided in the model ordinance. So 60 dBAs, 70 dBCs at the lot line of a residential use in a residential district or sensitive receptor, and then the lot line of a principal residential use that is not in a residential district, the same, and then any other lot line at all times, 70 dBA, DBC. Don't ask me what DBC means. It's not my expertise. So I did notice a little error here. So this says 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. In the use specific criteria, I have to change that. It actually said 8 to 7. That would be 7 to 7. So 7 to 7 is correct. So one thing I was noticing when we do calculations for parking spaces, sometimes there's decibels. So this basically tells us when to round up and when to round down, and that tells developers the same exact thing. So if it's above a half, you go above. So if it's 1.5, it'll be 2 parking spaces. If it's 1.3, it'll be 1 parking space. Sometimes developers fight that little stuff, so that's good to have that in the ordinance. So everybody, it's not a secret. Everybody is aware of our court case regarding a crazy decision by our zoning hearing board to reduce parking spaces by 107 parking spaces. The township is fighting that. However, we want to eliminate that ever happens again. So we're recommending the complete elimination of that ordinance that permits the zoning hearing board to reduce parking requirements as a special exception. Signs not requiring permits. Political signs are protected by the United States Constitution. We cannot regulate political signs, the size of them. We can't regulate how long they're going to be outside in someone's yard. Someone can have them there all year long. So we are really required to eliminate this per the Constitution and not recent, but Supreme Court cases. Another thing code enforcement is having, along with the police department, sometimes we have issues of cars parking in clear sight triangles and bushes and other debris in clear sight triangle. We get complaints. So what we do here is we set rules and regulations, and we even include a figure of what a clear sight triangle is, where it needs to be cleared. So one is for driveways intersecting streets, and one is for streets intersecting streets. So this kind of does a double here. So it kind of looks funky, and it looks like it's not even. However, it's explaining 2 different situations. On the left is a street intersecting a street, and on the right it's a driveway intersecting a street. So it kind of provides both. Screening of dumpsters. I deal with this a lot with new businesses. Swatara Township's blessed to have many new businesses come into the township. Literally every week we get permits. One of the requirements for a new business is currently you have to have waste dumpsters screened on 3 of 4 sides. However, that's kind of silly because then you can still see the front of the dumpster. So I'm recommending is permanent trash dumpsters. They have to be located in the rear or side yards. No more trash dumpsters in the front yards for new businesses moving forward. And then they have to be completely sealed all the way around. So 4 sides instead of 3. What is this? Oh, this was the unit for care of relative. Use specific criteria. We're recommending eliminating that. So, apologize for putting everybody to sleep. That's our recommendations at this time. Oh, also with the one thing I forgot to mention with the data center, water regulations. Some of the model ordinances stated the Susquehanna River Basin requirements. Even though we didn't specifically state those in our ordinance, they still have to meet those requirements when they get their permits when they get their ready to serve letter through Veolia, and I'll be happy to put those regulations on our website at a future time. But keep in mind that's a separate body that has to get approval from Veolia and has to get approval. Veolia has to get their approval before they approve.
I think at the same time we get this on, we can put those regulations because we can't add them to our ordinance, but it is a question that we get from the public a lot, like concerns about water. So we had stated before that there's other regulatory agencies. So I think whenever we have that, we just post it as information. And kind of the disclaimer is that we don't enforce this, but these protections are in place and regulated by another agency because it has been, evolving here. But it seemed like for a period of time, most of the concerns we were getting from the public had to do with water. And then we would say that we don't regulate that, and then they would think that that was a problem. So what we're going to say now is that it is regulated here in Swatara Township by the Susquehanna River Basin Commission, and here are their rules and regs. Because I think the more information we put out, then somebody from the public has a problem with that regulation, they'll know who to go to rather than to come to us because I don't know if everybody was feeling this. A lot of the things we were getting had to do with agencies that are not us at different levels. And I know when the public has a question, they want an answer. And it's not our area, but I think the request was made that we provide that information as often as we can. So I would say I would like to see that on our website. Yep. So that way when people are asked, we can say it's right here. To tell somebody that it's out there and then sometimes expect them to go look for it. I think what I've seen a couple times is the person thinks that we're not doing our job by pointing out someone else's regulations. So I would say on everything, I don't, if there's regulations on any other utility that's related to something in the township, it doesn't have to be specific to the data center, but I think maybe we just as routinely post those on our website as other agency rules and regulations. And I think that cuts down a lot of the questions and the concerns that we get. And it's repeated because the people, when they have the concern, it's a concern to them. They weren't at a previous meeting. They didn't, hear the conversation before. But I think that would be helpful. So I'm glad that you, identified that. And I don't think there's any reason to wait.
Sure.
I think, we just get it on now because it would apply to anybody that was asking to basically secure a certain amount of water. I think we just saw it on the news with TMI.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the same regulating agency that makes the decision. So I think that'd be very helpful. So thank you.
Sure.
I do have a question. Well, first of all, thank you. This is very detailed and very thorough, and I appreciate you working on this. I know you've been working a lot over the last at least 2 years to clean up our ordinance. But looking through and I'm trying to find, when did we originally add the data center aspect? Was that April of 25 or was that later? Because I know we did
That
more than one update and my service isn't great. I'm trying to find it.
I can find that exact date for you here.
I know we had updates that were done in April, and then I believe we had updates.
I found the, I
In
believe it was April 'cause I
November-
see the
April.
newspaper affidavit from March.
Okay, that's what I thought. So again, just for the public too,
April, it was.
we did this last year. These model ordinances that we're referring to, they were created this year. So it makes sense that it was bare because we had no guidance, but we wanted to make sure that we had something in place for protections. I looked up the Tri-County planning one, and thank you, Miss Darren, for sending it, because that made it easier than me having to search on the internet to find it. But that was, I believe, April of this year. So again, trying to be as proactive as we can. I know you and I, sir, locked eyes on the all-in-one place, so you got what you wanted with that. I mean, and again, I don't think I ever disagreed. It does make sense, but I'm going to always defer to our zoning and codes officer because he's the expert. I'm not. I'm not going to pretend to be. But again, I think this was really well done, and I'm thankful for all the work that you put into it. So, and thank you to all of you that have been here and advocating, bringing things to us that we may or may not have been aware of. I've said it numerous times. It's a balancing act of trying to do what's best for residents, but also not getting ourselves in a position where we've over-regulated and potentially put ourselves in a situation where we could be challenged in court and not be successful in having those things upheld. So thank you. Does anyone have anything else at this time?
I have something on two non-data center things. The massage situation that he kept mentioning, unfortunately, that comes about, and I see superintendent kind of has a sort of, I mean, that unfortunately has turned into a law enforcement issue with people doing illegal things under the open massage, nails, whatever. So it's weird that we had to spend time on it, but it's like a cycle in municipalities that years ago there was a major problem with this in Dauphin and Cumberland County, and people thought they had regulated it and enforced some of the problems, and then we see it starting to come back. So I appreciate the work on that. And then the other thing is the dumpsters, and obviously when we talk about all of these other things that were in here tonight, they would also apply to a new business. So, I mean, they would apply to the data center. So, I mean, we're not putting that specifically in there, but, for those of you that know, like, we do 4 community cleanups a year. We're picking up trash everywhere. And, we really have to get a handle on the bulk of the trash tends to come from people who started off with the right idea. They put it in a dumpster or they put it in a trash can or near a trash can, and then they're not emptied regularly. So everything that's there is blowing away. You pile something on a trash can and you walk away from it, you just littered because that's blowing down the road. And also increasingly concerns about rats, raccoons, possums. And this shouldn't be a hardship on new businesses going forward. They basically already, it started off, they had to be shielded from the street, then they had to have 3 sides. The 4th side is just going to be some type of gate that can be opened by the establishment themselves as they place their trash in their dumpsters and receptacles, and then it'll be opened and closed by the refuse hauler. But without that, unfortunately, on windy days, businesses that are following the rules now have their property completely covered with litter from somebody that wasn't. So it's not flashy, but we probably, in all honesty, in an average year, get as many people come forward concerned about trash and reporting other businesses and overflowing trash cans than we've seen on data centers or warehousing. So I appreciate the work on all of the subjects. And to me, this whole packet plus putting other things out is just a big piece of information filled with things that are going to improve the things we do in the township, and it's never ending. I mean, we're always open for suggestions, and there'll be more things that come on the radar. But I appreciate the work that you do, the planning commission, the citizens that give you, the recommendations. And I will ask before we go forward, one thing I think that we had put up before, but just to clear up one of the biggest kind of concerns that we were getting, because the model ordinances came in after ours, and we would hear from people that we should put the data centers in what people called industrial, commercial, manufacturing areas. Do you have our map? And I'll show you why that's something that we just really couldn't copy and paste, because this township's different than many others. We're basically built out, where a lot of these places that are talking about data centers have hundreds and thousands of acres of open land to set the regulations on. So I just want to show you, if you look at the two MUs down at the bottom, to me, I feel like they look like the wings of a butterfly, those two MU districts. And I get it. If you live close to it, you want them somewhere else. But the reality is, the first move we had to make to comply with the municipal planning code, the law of the land, and we talked about that last week, was to establish areas where a data center, if it was ever to come here, could go. And as you can see, a lot of thought was put in to those two locations. And we did that before anybody. So, like we're playing catch up on some things now, but the backstory is the golf course was already basically being marketed, but it's not something that we regulate. We knew that the Stein Farm had multiple attempts to be developed as something other than a farm. I've stated this before, and I think all five of the people up here, and probably everybody from Zach all the way over to Superintendent Stauffer around the room, would be perfectly happy if the Stein Farm stayed a farm forever, and if the golf course stayed a golf course forever. There was nothing that we did that had anything to do with that. But I just want to show you that if you look at the key here for the zoning districts, once you start to hit the print on mine is pretty small, but once you start to hit the red, the striped red, the less striped red, I don't know what you want to call it. What is that color? Violet, and then the purple. That's how the township is set up with what would be the equivalent of model ordinances, manufacturing or industrial. And if you see how much of the other colors are the purples, the violets, the reds with stripes, if we were to have picked some other zoning district, let alone all of those, you would have increased. I mean, I'm just looking at it, but I feel like from what we picked to where those places are, we would have increased it, by a massive, massive amount where data centers could go. And that's up against, heavily populated neighborhoods, highways, all the sensitive receptors. And I think that's what we were faced with. So just to put that out there, that's what we were looking at. And I don't fault anybody who had a model ordinance that said that, because if we had a model township and we were starting off and we were a square or a rectangle and we didn't have it built out the way it is, obviously an area could have been designated for this. But we're basically what used to be a suburb of the capital city. Now we are very much an extension of an urban area. And I was even misled early on in the first couple of years of this. So this goes back to our Swatara Rising from 2020. It was going to go through 2024 to address the change in development and needs and things like that. And I never considered and I'm glad that it didn't come back to bite everybody, because I think it was kind of the conventional wisdom. We never thought that this type of large use, whether it was, steel mill, airport, data center, something huge, would come in and have the ability to buy land that was already developed. So our original thought process was to look for these open areas, and we realize now that the financial capabilities that people have, they could really have purchased areas that we thought were out of play. For the amount of money that they spent on a farm and a golf course, they really could have purchased, existing areas, malls, businesses, residential areas, and then come up with the amount of acreage that we needed. So I think, not saying anybody's perfect or we did everything right. I just think with the information that we had, and it spans multiple boards, so there's credit to go to other people, multiple boards here, multiple boards and different people on the planning commission, and I'm always open for criticism and suggestions, but I feel like we did a lot of things right to get where we are, and I'm proud of the board and Zach, and I'm basically rambling on like that because I am the chair now in this session for code, zoning, and planning. And I did not have that in my previous other term. So it really was eye opening for me how hard the decisions are when you're trying to do the best thing for 30,000 people in your community. So I'll shut up now. They're probably ready to kill me.
Very used to it. No.
Told him he couldn't carry his 15 minutes over from the
He,
last one.
he
He
did.
did.
Yep. He
I'll
reclaimed
take
his
it off
time.
my comments
Yeah.
at the end. But
A lot to unpack here, Zach.
You heard
this
it
is
here.
a comprehensive document, but I don't know if you want to look at it on your screen.
Sure.
But I'm gonna go by page number where I wrote some of these notes of some of these things that
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to inquire about. And the first one is on page 3, just to make sure that the developer agreements, and this might be for Cocarisi as
Mhm.
well, do require board approval. Sometimes where you see that form and content, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go before the full board for approval. So I just want to make sure there's language in there that any developer agreement will come before this body to be voted on by this board.
Yeah, any contract with the township requires board approval.
Okay, excellent. 7, and same thing, Cocarisi. Touch on this with you, and I'm gonna touch on both of them at the same time because this one is stormwater management. Um, can we come up with some language now before we send this to the uh, planning commission, essentially, that it just defers this over to the proper authority, and the same thing goes for the sewer authority, because what we're going to find ourselves in, sometimes the rates and regulations of both entities, and then you'll have something in your ordinance, they conflict, and you should always go to that municipal authority, whether that be the stormwater authority or the sewer authority, and that's where all the regulations should sit, whether you're looking at a stormwater plan or a sewer plan. I don't know if, can you give us some language real quick that we could just write down that it would refer to that change, basically to refer to the municipal authority that's responsible for stormwater and sewer?
Yeah, on page 7, under section 6 of the proposed ordinance, it could simply state, shall comply with any applicable provisions of Chapter 247, Stormwater Management, and any applicable regulations of the Stormwater Authority. And then similar language in the section that references sewer.
Jen, you get that? I'm the only one who got that joke. Huh? Okay, I think
you get that.
Yeah,
Jen. Oh, did I?
that was a
No, I'm
joke.
saying-
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
She's not here.
No, but
No.
I'm saying, just I want to make sure that you.
Yeah.
He's talking to a mystery person that's not here.
Yeah.
I'll make sure you have it.
Okay, so yeah, section 6 and
Maybe Steve can email that over, so then we
Yeah.
would basically totally omit whatever you have for stormwater and sewer and just put that language in there. And then the rates, rules, and regulations of both authority would comply with
that's easy.
this, and that just simplifies things.
Steve, if you just want to email me that, that's easy.
Yeah,
Page 8, and maybe I might have missed it, Zach, but you said you eliminated trucking terminal, and I wrote down, because I was
Yes.
trying to reference back and forth as you were reading. That was eliminated. What took its place? I think you might have mentioned the page. Right.
It's the fulfillment center and or return centers. It's the terminal, rail, and or truck. So we redefined it.
11.
Truck and freight rail terminals.
Okay, and I'm writing my notes. What took the warehouse place?
There was 3 of them. So basically, we more. Let me see. Let me go back here a little bit.
So that one on 11 would have took the warehouse too then.
Yeah, so it took warehouse went to 3 different things:
The wholesales.
distribution and a logistics center,
Okay.
and then those freight rail things that we talked about, the fulfillment center and a return center, and then there's one more: this terminal, rail, and our truck. So instead of just a warehouse general,
Mm-hmm.
3 separate things, more
Okay.
clearly defined.
Excellent.
28 has some of that. Page
Mm.
28.
Right, and then I think I did get your explanation of the accessory apartment. Essentially, you see this a lot more with in-laws.
Correct.
We'll build one on the side and
Yep.
things of that nature. Okay.
Yes.
Yep, I got that one. I'm at page 14.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure why we changed that. I think you did say something, but we changed that from essentially 14 days, from 30 days to 14 days.
For what?
The public notice.
Hearing.
Oh yes, that's directly from the MPC.
Okay. Okay, page 17.
Okay.
There is no way. I guess let me frame this question. It probably should go to Steve. Is there any way that this township can regulate small wireless facilities? I get the fact of, if it's going to be 150 feet, I'd love that notification. Zach saying that's no longer enforceable. What happens when nobody wants a small wireless facility next door to them within 150 feet?
I believe was your explanation that we don't have any jurisdiction.
We don't have jurisdiction to send letters
Right.
within the 150 feet. We have to go off of the setback requirements per the Small Wireless Communication Facilities Act.
So the act is what regulates it completely.
Yeah, that's a state law issue now or currently.
So we have no regulation over it. If I want to plot one next to President Ellis' house, as long as it's 150 feet away, boom, I can do it.
As long as it complies with the state law requirements, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, and our regulations come straight from the state.
Lobby your state legislator.
Right.
And then I think the dimension standards, I think you failed yourself because you should have mentioned that. You made that 50 where it was 20 in the model ordinance.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. So
And I don't mean fell in a bad way. You should take credit for that.
Yeah.
You increased that
Yes.
from 20 to 50. 2 was dead on. I seen that 75 to 50, the 100 feet to 75.
And that's actually more restrictive than our current ordinance.
Yeah. The only thing I would discuss, have a discussion with Chief Iverson about the parapet walls if they will ever exist. They do sometimes pose a problem with ladder trucks. So just have a conversation with him on that one.
Sure.
Jason. I think the setbacks were a question in the other model ordinance. I think one of the things I talked about is I know sewer can somewhat regulate the setbacks of pumping stations and things like that. Where does it stand? Is there anywhere where it's like these ancillary buildings that come along with data centers, such as their substations, any other outbuildings they might have, a maintenance building? Can we regulate the setbacks on them, or is it in here? Did I miss that?
Yeah. So how it's currently written is the 210 feet for the actual data center building, and then the applicable zoning district, which is the MU, it would be 70-foot back from the property line.
So if they had a garage where they kept their maintenance trucks, it would be 70 feet from the property line of someone else?
Correct.
Okay. What about their power stations?
It'd be 70. There would be a 70-foot buffer.
Okay. That's a change I'd like to make there. I'd like to make that the same as the setback for the data center buildings itself, if everybody's in agreement with that. So that'd be 210 feet.
The discussion we had on that was some of the things, security, shack, uh, any type of utility. We looked at it similar to, just one example, close by our Bishop Park, where we have a sewer pump station, and the access to it is close to the street. So we didn't want to move the things that were utility or security related deeper into the property when they're being regulated by someone else. So that was where that had come from with a lot of the discussion there.
So my concern is going to be the substations. And that's why I started my conversation. We can regulate where the pumping stations are going to be on sewer. We can regulate where the essentially the retention ponds and all that for stormwater. But does the substations fall under the ancillary buildings?
Yes,
And that could be 70 feet from someone's residence according to this ordinance.
from a property line, correct?
Yeah, we have to increase that. I would not want a substation 70 feet away from my house. I think we should just go right in line with the 210 setback that's in there, and I think that should be sufficient. So I would recommend that change on that one. The parking requirements, which are on 19, I had no issues. Traffic study, I think you did a great job with that, fixing that. I think you should have gave yourself credit for 20 because that was 70 feet. It was 30 feet before, and you went to 70.
Yes.
The question I had was for the height of the buffering, 21, page 21.
Mhm.
So I think if it was, how many feet were you tall? 100 and,
Oh, the maximum height
yeah,
was it 108?
something, 107 was it, or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that, and then you're talking about this screening for roof-mounted mechanical equipment. So
105.
what's that?
105. I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
I mean, are we going to say they're going to have to plant a tree that's 105 feet?
No.
Right. So that doesn't. That's going to be seen. So what are you going to do? Is it going to be a setback that's going to buffer that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's going to be 70 feet of buffer. The minimum planting is 8 feet. I've never seen another ordinance that goes above 8 feet plantings.
Right.
However, we do have a berm requirement in here as well if they can't make that happen.
Okay. And then 22, I had the same thing where you get into sewer and water. I think that should just strictly come from the utilities. Obviously, this township is already the sewer authority, and I normally don't talk with the other hat when I'm sitting here, but we all know the sewer authority has put regulations on the data centers already for wastewater. Obviously, Veola will have what they need to have. The noise and vibration regulations, the only thing, and that's on 24. I don't know if our municipal engineers has someone like you're outside your scope, and I appreciate you being honest for that.
Yeah.
For the DC, I think you said. Let's just double check if our municipal engineers has someone that understands that. If not, I think we need to look at some language in here, or Steve might say legally because it says municipal engineers that we can hire a third party to make sure that requirement is satisfied as well.
Sure.
And then I think, look at page 27, Zach.
Mhm.
I would not mind F1 if it's at ADA for both. I'm not going to hold you to that one, but I think it's ADA for residents that are 55 and older, but younger, it's not ADA. If we can just make that minimal change as well, which is page 27.
Yep.
And then you have page 28. C. Now, the only reference that I've had since I've been on this board, obviously, is the High Spire Road one.
Mhm.
And under that, would that qualify for that 200 feet from a residential? Is it just from the district if that district touches another district, or is it the property line?
The property line.
So you could put essentially a loading dock or truck maneuvering area is 200 feet from a residence.
200 feet. Yes.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I would recommend 500 on that. I would recommend. You cut me off. You shake your head, yes. My recommendation for that would be 500 feet, so we don't run into similar to same situation. I think they're a little bit more than that on the residence side, on the Highland Street, the High Spire Road project. I don't know if they're that. They might be less than 200 feet on the other side by the church, though, and across the street. Just so we don't find ourselves in it. Listen, nobody wants a warehouse right beside their house, but and if it's zoned that way and we can't change it, we simply say now you have to be 500 feet away. 30, and then I looked at A1E. I'm all for regulations that we can enforce. How would we enforce that? I don't see it.
Good question. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's almost like we just have it as a placeholder. You know what I mean? So just think about that. I'm not gonna belabor the point on that. I do appreciate the fact that you took time to really listen to the residents and us as a board when it relates to page 31 and the sound levels and things of that nature. I really appreciate that because that was a concern for all our residents plus people on this board. I had 24/5 circled, and you used a great example for that because that's what I was going to touch on. And that's all I have for them. And I'll make my motion to approve this document to move on to the planning commissions, whether that be our planning commission and the county, with those changes that I just listed.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Do we have any discussion with regard to
Yep.
forwarding
My,
it?
my discussion is that we just got it tonight, and we all have an opportunity to review it and make changes. Zach and legal went through it, so without necessarily having the and I agree with Commissioner Steele saying that there's some questions here, but I'm afraid that on a short reading for us to start making changes when it's going to go to the planning commission for changes, then we have opportunity to make changes. I would just prefer to send it to them as is, and then everybody work together on what the changes are going to be. And I mean, I certainly wasn't expecting that we would get it tonight and then, necessarily make changes. And I get what you're saying, because I mean, there's some things I have in here. I just thought that we were going to send it to the planning commission, then they were going to make recommendations, then it was going to come back to us and we were going to make recommendations. So,
I hear you loud and clear, but there's some recommendations in here that I'm not concerned with. The planning commission's recommendation is one of those is a substation 70 feet away from a residential house. I'm not willing to negotiate that any way, shape, or
Yeah,
form. I think it's the direction of this board because we can overrule the planning commission to say this is what we intend to be in this regulation, and if they choose to come back and change it, make their recommendation, but the document that we pass to them will be 210 feet based upon my motion.
I get that. My only concern is something that is related to electricity and the conversations we had, that we were very limited in regulating another agency. So
No, we're not no, I don't want to regulate another agency because I know that's outside our scope. But where they place that substation, that is within our regulation. We can regulate that. We can't regulate essentially how much power they draw. We can't regulate essentially whether or not they're going to put in infrastructure, but we can regulate where those ancillary buildings are because our ordinance that Zach just read to us was one of them was we're regulating it at 70 feet versus 210 feet, and I think we should just I'm okay with matching where the building could be with the ancillary building, because I can tell you right now, Tom, I don't want a substation where my kids are going to play in my yard, where my family's going to live 70 feet from my property line. And I'm not going to budge on that. I mean, the board has the will to go ahead and strike that motion down, but that's one thing I'm going to lay firm on.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just concerned that you know, if well, basically, then I mean, we could make it. I'm just going to withhold my changes, and I'm not saying that that wasn't one of them until we've had time to look at it. And like I'm saying, I didn't think that we were all going to go through tonight and change something without speaking to legal on what got it in here. But that's just my position. I don't think anybody wants a substation 70 feet from their house. Like that's not necessarily a concern that has two sides. So I mean, we could just I'm fine with that.
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam President. What we doing here with this, is this informational? Is what we're doing? Because I've heard the long spiel with it, and there are recommendations for changes. I have them as well. So are we going to go through those tonight? Like what is the actual plan for that? To actually go through all the recommended changes?
No, it's going to the planning commission. That's what was explained. It's going to go to them. If you have comments and things like that, forward them to Zach. That can be discussed at the planning commission. That's the general process of
and
how these
after-
things work.
After the planning commission, what's the next step?
Comes back.
It would come
It
out
would-
to us.
yeah.
Recommendations,
But I mean, we are the authority having jurisdiction over the planning commission. So whatever we send them now is what will be the topic of discussion for them. So it's best for us to make our changes now, so it's in the document that we send to them, because their thinking could be different than us. And I think we represent the residents, and although they do too, we overrule them when we don't like what they want, and that's in place for a reason. And I think whatever I can be here till 11 o'clock when it comes to the data centers. I'm fine with that. When it comes to what we think should be as far as protections for the data centers and everything else of these changes, I think it's best that this board puts those changes in now, then send that full document to the PC, and then they can give our comments back from the county. Because otherwise, if we wait for the planning commission, our planning commission, the county planning commission, give it back to us, then we have to send it back to them again. And by that time, we could be beyond the timeline to even enforce anything. And that's my point of view. I would rather let's get this out and get ahead of it and get the protections in place.
I definitely agree with all of that, and I definitely don't mind sending all of my changes to Zach to be reviewed. But I just want to know that I would adhere to this entire document, reviewing it over and over and over, to ensure that my requested changes are addressed. Okay, because I can pretty much have a lot of the same and almost caveating what Commissioner Steele just said. And without regurgitating, I will be sending you those
Yes.
comments as well.
Please send those to me by July 6th. I like to get the planning commission packets out at least 1 week in advance.
I'm gonna have them tonight.
All right.
Do we have any other discussion? All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
So just so I'm clear, the motion included Commissioner Steele's changes.
Yes,
Pages.
send that to the planning commission.
And I got them written down for you, Tom.
Yeah,
Please, yes. I have,
But-
but I just want
Well, and now that I think about it, what we should have did is just send it back to committee, then had a conversation and brought it back to us. But it is what it is.
That
Just wanna make-
interferes with timelines of trying to get it done before, like,
Yeah.
this is our last meeting. We don't have another meeting this month. So if we do it that way, you're delaying it a month.
And just to be clear for Zach and the audience, so this will get what we were going to post tomorrow now will have some revisions. And I mean, I honestly don't know. At this point, do you have to send that to Zach Rice? Or, I mean,
Probably.
that's what would normally happen. We would, go back and forth. So, I mean, we already voted on it. So at this point, it's going to have the revisions. Could delay it a day.
Yeah, it's gonna be Friday. I'll work with Commissioner Steele to make sure I get it perfect.
Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing there that, and don't think I'm being disingenuous when I say this, Steve. There's nothing, any changes that I wanted that would be outside the confines of the law. So there's no need for legal any way, shape, or form. If legal said that you can do 210-foot setbacks, I'm just using it as an example for a building, that means you can do 210-foot setbacks for an ancillary building. And all my other stuff was pretty much, administrative in nature. I don't think we'll see any delays. I think we can just push this forward and get that out to the planning commission as soon as possible.
Yeah,
I will say, I still think that the attorneys should review it.
I'm saying that your changes can go in, but right now
Yeah.
he can't send this out the way it is. So he's going to have to revise it. So.
He's talking about the part that's going to be on the website
Right.
for review.
My only concern is a few commissioners have provided comments. What is the official document that will be sent to the planning commission?
The changes that I
That's what I'm
requested.
saying.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I
Shane
would
will
like
work that out with
I would
Zach.
like the
But-
solicitor to be able to
Then go
review
back.
that before. Yeah.
Commissioner Douglas had comments as well, and
If he's saying he's going to get them
He added
tonight,
nothing. Commissioner Douglas's are outside the changes because he did not add anything in that motion. So
Okay.
he can just send his comments to Zach and the planning commission. The motion that passed here tonight was with my changes. So any commissioner that wants to make any changes to that official document, essentially they missed their opportunity because they didn't add it to the motion.
you tell me.
I mean,
If
that's
you want legal review, we'll review it. If
I
not,
I think it's a
I think-
I think you
it
should.
shouldn't be much of a
we-
review.
think you
we
should.
review it before it actually.
Right. Exactly. It's not, but just again, if we're putting anything out to the public, I think it should, clearly have the blessing of the solicitors.
So,
And I have all mine written down, Zach. Then so
okay.
Yeah.
I'll do my best for Friday, but the public, if it's Monday, please don't. I
You've
promise.
announced
And
your offer.
no
so we'll
no
need that
pitchforks.
I'll do my
No.
best because I am off tomorrow. For a family.
About that,
And the reason I wanted to put that out is because I'm the one that said earlier that it would be out tomorrow. So I just want to be clear that if it's not out tomorrow, it's just because of modifications and changes. It's nothing,
Definitely
so-
not tomorrow. Definitely not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But earlier we were saying that we had a prepared document, and then
Correct.
and I think, to be honest with you, at this point, you might as well wait to put the Susquehanna River Basin Commission report on because it'll make more sense if it's with this. Than,
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're up to 12A, Treasurer's Report. Treasurer Yarzinski.
Yes. In your packets, there's the treasurer's report for April and May, since the April minutes were tabled when I wasn't here. If it's okay with you, President Ellis, I'll just read the May report since the beginning balances are the April ending figures. So
Yep.
it shows both. Okay, this is for the month ending May 31st, 2026. The total of all funds had a beginning balance of $23,178,156.67. We received $2,586,365.80. We dispersed $3,329,967.51, with an ending balance in all funds of $22,434,554.96.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve April and May treasurer's reports.
The one was tabled, right? Which was it?
April.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll make that motion.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion or questions? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Solicitor Kokorisi, do we have a solicitor's report?
no, I'm just filling in for Scott tonight. Nice to see you all again, and he'll be back next month.
See you.
Thank you. All right. Fire services and EMS. Are you planning on reading that?
I'm going to say at this point, Chief Iverson is on vacation. I'll give it a short overview off of his.
You want a motion to
Probably-
post?
Well, I was just going to say, just let me. It says 164 incidents in May, 722 year to date, 60 mutual aid incidents, average time response time 5 minutes 14 seconds. And then what I was going to say is this entire thing will be posted and available to the public. So I don't know. Do we need any action to do that?
No.
Take a
it's-
particular look at the very last page though, of your report when you post it. Make that the front page.
Second to last.
Yeah.
Second
Is
to
that?
last.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I
there's
missed
a
it. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Second to last. Yeah. For the public, it's a picture of it's so- okay. Well, when we get to yours, then I'll share what I was going to say. Okay.
You're going to address it? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
and for Chief Eberson, have fun in Disneyland or Disney World because I was emailing him and he texts me. He's like, not in the building. So he's definitely in a better place than all of us. So we'll go ahead and move on to the Police Department and Community Services report.
Hit your button. Hit your button. Hit your button. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Brendan. All right. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Good evening, everyone. I have the Police Department report for the month of May 2026. In the township, the police department handled 1,484 calls for service. And in Paxtang Borough, we handled 81 for a total of 1,565 calls for service. That breaks down into Part 1 and Part 2 crimes. Our Part 1 crimes were one attempted murder, for which we did make an arrest. I'm sure you saw that on our Crime Watch page. It was a shooting incident. Involved a 16-year-old shooter and a 16-year-old victim. The 16-year-old was charged as an adult, and he is awaiting his court date. We had one robbery, 33 assaults, 4 burglaries, 41 larcenies, and 1 motor vehicle theft, for a total of 81 Part 1 crimes. And our Part 2 crimes were 19 fraud cases, 1 embezzlement case, 8 vandalism cases, 2 weapons offenses, 3 prostitution cases, 3 sex offenses, 7 drug investigations, 1 family offense, 4 DUI cases, 1 liquor law violation, 2 public drunkenness cases, 11 disorderly conduct cases, and 11 cases that fit in the category of all other offenses, for a total of 73 Part 2 crimes. On the second page, under our monthly statistics, this is the total number for the borough and the township. We had 49 criminal arrests, 2 traffic stops that resulted in a DUI arrest, 61 traffic stops that resulted in citations, 215 traffic stops that resulted in warnings, 15 non-traffic citations, 26 parking violations, 14 foot patrols, and 11 school foot patrols. In the crime and call treatments section, you see there the Part 1 and Part 2 crimes, there we go, that I just talked about. They were both down for the month of May as compared to April, and the calls for service were up slightly from the month before. Year to date, as compared to this time last year, our Part 1 and Part 2 crimes are down, and our calls for service are slightly up. Our Community Services Division had 6 events and presentations. In the month of May, we ran 1 enforcement program and collected 43.25 pounds of unused or expired prescription medication in our drug drop box. And there were 21 mix-app inspections between the months of April and May, because we didn't have that number in April.
That brings the total mix-app inspection number up to 63 for the year. And the last page, I'm going to flip the order here. First, I'm going to talk about the upcoming events. So our upcoming event right now is National Night Out. The police department will be hosting the annual National Night Out event again at Veneta Park on August 4th from 6 until 8:30 p.m. This is the department's largest community service event of the year, which brings together the community and police officers who serve them for a night against crime in and around our neighborhoods. And then finally, the highlighted event of the month from May occurred on May 30th at Chambers Hill Elementary School. The PTO there hosted their annual Mayfair event. I was there with Corporal Pokrap for the Pie a Hero event. There's the
There it
pictures.
is.
Along with Fire Chief Mike Iberson and Harrisburg firefighter Brian Riddle. Students earned the right to Pie a Hero by performing acts of kindness while in the school and winning games at the Mayfair event. So you can see there the four of us took probably about 100 pies over the course of 2 hours. Pies being, tin pie pans filled with Cool Whip. Can you scroll through all those, Brenda?
Bet you won't sit on the end closest to the pies anymore.
Yeah, I learned the lesson that if you're sitting there with a group of people to get pied, you don't sit at the seat that's
First.
closest where all the students are coming out because they pick you first. The school was kind enough to provide us with some plastic ponchos there because, yeah. The other lesson I learned was don't wear dress slacks and wingtips to pie in your face event. So next time we'll be in shorts and t-shirts and flip flops. But we had a great time. Great time. Kids did a great job. That concludes the report. A complete breakdown of the calls for service can be found on the pages that follow this report, which will be posted in the lobby, and it will also be made available online. And I can take any questions.
Not a question, but a comment. My son got to pie Corporal Pokrap, and when we talked about it later, Adri said that he got to pie his best friend. So I wanted to share that. Apparently he and Brandon and my son are best friends, according to the 5-year-old.
That's
So.
okay.
I got pied in the face once before at Tri-C, and don't know that I would recommend doing it again. So I give it up to you guys for sitting there and allowing it to happen over and over and over again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Were you able to get everything out of your clothes?
It took a while.
Yeah. Yep. Don't think about this, but that sugar, it gets nasty quick when you have the pie in your clothes. Yeah, yep. So.
He's probably lucky it wasn't that hot that day, too.
True. Yeah.
It would have been worse if it was.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Weather
Yep. So, but thank you, guys, for your participation, and I know the kids thoroughly enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything? All right. We'll go ahead and move on to the Public Works and Recreation Report. I'll turn it over to Manager Trafka.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll quickly go over the May monthly report for Public Works in the Parks and Recs Department. Public Works continues their spring maintenance operation, which includes road repairs, sign repairs. They also started into the summer stuff. Again, roadside mowing. I wasn't here in May, but the department did complete the spring brush woody waste pickup on the week of April 24th. Staff is down at the compost facility processing the woody waste and turning the leaf compost. Of course, we continue our street sweeping operation, and they do the maintenance and routine maintenance and the ongoing maintenance of all our equipment. Announcements for Park and Rec. The May activities were, they continued their park maintenance at normal, removing trash, cleaning the restrooms, and the routine maintenance. They continue removing some of the dead trees and limbs. Parks and Rec staff worked on the bike path at Ivy Ridge, and they're getting ready to start a couple of other new upgrades over there soon. They also finished painting over at Taylor Park, the restroom area after the AEDs was installed, and we are anticipating the next AED to arrive at Venata. I don't have a date yet when that's going to be here, but it's coming soon, and hopefully Clown Park would be right behind there. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right. We're up to item 13, approval of Chambers Point Park Project Award bid, and this was our amended to Rogel Inc. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Second, I actually butchered that name too. What is the proper name? Because I butchered.
I thought it was.
It's Rogel. Rogel.
Rogel.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
He was using the French.
I can't
say.
I kind of said it right on accident the first time and then corrected myself and made it wrong. So
I tried to remember it when you said it.
I was guessing when I said it originally. So, but just by way of discussion, the reason there was a different name that was printed is originally yesterday when the documents came out and were forwarded to us from the township engineer, that was who was recommended. But I guess this company forwarded additional information that then allowed them to be in contention, and they were the lowest responsible bidder. Therefore, that's how the choice has to be made. But I got that at 4:16 p.m. today, so that's not usually how that works. But so, do you have anything else to add, Manager Trafka?
No, you pretty much covered it up. Yeah, we were scrambling. The changes were made, and Rogel is awarded or will be awarded the bid after the board votes.
And the amount was the bid amount is $248,411. And this is to complete. Let's see what else. What are the other things that
I think a
you
portion of that stormwater is what is
Yeah.
it? Stormwater, the
Yeah.
basketball
Pavilion.
court, the pavilion.
Yeah, there's a pavilion, concrete pad, and then
That's
a
it.
half basketball court that actually has a stormwater infrastructure basin underneath it, fencing. Basically, it's the final improvements for the park just outside of the playground.
And now that you said that, I know we planned this well. I think there wasn't there a pad for that porta john. I thought that was in there.
There, I'll have to.
Because that was what he brought up where it sits now, and obviously we need one there for now. But I thought there was a section that we were going to do a little concrete pad for the porta john.
I know at one time I had seen a conceptual drawing where there was a driveway and a said pad. I'll have to go back and review if that pad is still in the
There.
design that Wolpert engineered.
And did that answer your question, Commissioner Douglas, or potentially?
Potentially.
Yeah.
But what I'm just I want to add out and bring to attention is that's awfully close to a resident domicile, and he definitely has some questions about how close Porta John is going to be, how smelly this Porta John is going to be. I don't have those answers for him, but future reference, don't be surprised if you see that here with some questions and concerns.
And the only thing I'll say with regard to, which again, porta potties are gross, no matter what. But the company that we contract with, Tillet, yeah, they're very good about keeping things. So obviously, yes, that's a concern. I understand that being a concern. But we have a good relationship and they have a good track record of being on top of it if things get grosser than their normal gross, if that makes sense. So.
I'll second that. Even though it wasn't a motion, but we've used them for a long
Yeah,
time. And
yeah,
I've never had an issue with it.
yep.
I'm at like at our events or throughout our
Yeah.
parks, and I don't think I've ever had one of theirs smell like a porta john. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
But again, I understand the concern clearly. So does
Yeah,
go ahead.
two things I want to add. If we're putting in a pad and we haven't placed it, maybe we work to get it as much distance
away.
So just saying that maybe where it's at now doesn't have to be the place.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying.
Maybe
So,
in between the courts and the pavilion.
yeah, if there's any way to split it, the distance between residents on both sides, and not that I'm an expert on the porta johns, but this company is female owned, and it's amazing. It's amazing how much care is given to the porta potties that we use in the township. So probably everybody's had a bad experience especially when you have kids, but not having the option of going to the bathroom when you're out at one of our parks is worse probably in most cases than entering the porta john. But in this particular case, we really haven't had a complaint or a bad review. So I get what you're saying, Ben, and maybe we get the pad and Kevin in the best possible spot, make the best of a bad situation. So
Absolutely. I get the dynamics of it, but no one here wants a porta john outside the house first thing they see when they come out.
oh yeah, yeah. But I mean the fact that it is a park and you have to have some type of amenity, maybe we can like I said, make it the best possible scenario for everybody.
Does anybody have anything else? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We're up to item 14, approval of Act 134 fee schedule change.
Motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. And I'll turn it over to Superintendent Stauffer just to give a brief overview of what this entails.
Thank you, Madam President. So the document in front of you is just requesting a fee schedule change. We already have a fee schedule. It's actually a little bit behind where it should be, which is why the request is in front of you. What Act 134 is a law in Pennsylvania that allows for crime victims and defendants actually to obtain police reports and investigative material for civil litigation, which just came into effect in 2022. So the law allows for the police department, the municipality, to charge reasonable fees for the production and release of those types of records. So we're starting to see a lot more of these because, again, it is a relatively new law. And what we're finding is that the current fee schedule is not keeping up with the actual cost of presenting those reports that we're required to present. It was an interesting noise. I don't know.
No
what
clue.
came from.
You can
So
tell we're all
the,
very mature.
Yeah,
Maybe you need a license for that slot machine.
the proposed fee schedule, we actually copied directly from the Dauphin County District Attorney's Office. It's what they're using now, so we thought it best to match the fee schedule that the county is currently using. I can answer any questions about that if anyone has any.
Does anyone have any questions at this time? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 1 second. Let me find my paper. That's going to be Resolution R-2026-21. All right. Consideration of resolution sale of police firearms. I'll entertain. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And then again, we'll turn it over to Superintendent Stauffer.
Thank you, Madam President. So we are expecting the delivery of several new firearms later this year that will replace the firearms that our officers are currently carrying. So part of the arrangement that we have with that seller is that we would trade in our current firearms for credit against the purchase of the new firearms. A lot of times police officers don't want to part with their firearms that they've been carrying, so historically we've allowed them to purchase those weapons to keep at home. They would be charged the same amount that we're going to get as far as the credit from the retailer. So we also have some shotguns in our inventory that are no longer being used. So we're going to put those towards the purchase of these new firearms as well to try to bring the price down.
Thank you. Does anyone have any discussion or questions at this time?
Madam President, I motion to amend in paragraph 2, just to omit the sentence either through a public auction or private sale. It has a lot of ambiguity there, and everything reads as is and gets to the point, but the public auction and private sales could be taken erroneously from someone else looking outside in and not fully understanding what this resolution is actually trying to achieve. Just omitting that will give straightforward black and white clarity on what your mission is to achieve.
I'll defer to Solicitor Cocorisi for that request.
What paragraph was that? What are you talking about?
Sale process.
Yeah, I got it. I'm wondering what paragraph he's talking about. Oh, you got a copy, Steve, here?
I have it.
I see what he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't think that sentence is necessary either.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I think the chief knows how he has to
Right.
handle the sale, so we don't need to specify in here public or private.
Okay. I feel like this was from what was before. Yeah. So that's, it's just this, I don't know how I got so loud. The language that was there previously, because we had to do this before, and I had to sign all of the forms. So I'm glad that I don't have to do that this time because it was a lot.
It was.
Quite a lot. All right. So
I'm amenable to that amendment to remove item 2.
not to remove, just remove that passage or sentence, whatever.
Yeah, just the part that says either through a public auction or
Okay.
private sale.
I'm amenable to that and I said 1. I said 2, and it's actually 1 anyway. Right?
No, it's
Oh,
2.
was it 2? Yeah, okay. Yep, I'm amenable to that too. The
Just
motion
that one
can stay the
sentence.
same.
Okay.
with that.
Motion and second. Does anyone else have any questions or discussion at this time?
What's the exact wording? Like what,
It's just going to be out. It's just going to be gone.
the whole thing is gone.
No, not
No.
the whole thing.
Just the private and public auction sale.
Okay.
That is gone.
So it'll be like
Everything else stays.
So you make sure you're right, Madam President. I got the sale shall be
As
conducted through a legal and
compliant process as determined by the township manager and superintendent of police, ensuring full compliance with
Yep.
all applicable laws
I got you.
and regulations regarding the sale of firearms.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm on board with you.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That's going to be resolution R-2026-22. Again, we're up to 16 visitors' requests and comments. If you have comments, please come forward, state your name and address, as well as write them down, and then you may begin.
Deborah Knowles, 6080 Hocker Drive. About 2 months ago, I mentioned about 2 street lights being on Hocker Drive all the time. Nothing's been done about them yet. They're still on. So, what?
Madam Madam President, can I
Yep,
respond?
go for it.
Yeah, so we did turn those, I don't call complaints, those observations over to PP&L. PP&L is the one who manages the streetlights. They do, basically you go through a automated system, you report, we have to go out, get the poll numbers, addresses and everything, and then we turn it over to PP&L, and then their service department would handle those things from there. So I wasn't aware that they still hadn't been there yet, but I will reach back out to them and see if I can get an update. So,
Okay,
but that's the way all of our outages, or in this case, the lights are on. They're all reported to PP&L directly, and they handle it from there.
because don't we pay, as the township, don't we pay that bill? for
So
those?
to answer your question, yes, we do pay the bill, but there's different setups for different lights, right?
Right.
Some of them are a flat rate fee where we get charged so much per pole per light. And then other ones like are metered, right? More like your home where you're actually paying for the amount of electricity that you use versus, a flat fee. So I would, and I'm only assuming that those would be flat rate fees. Most of the lights that are metered are near like a traffic signal where there potentially would be an electric meter base, metering the actual usage. But either way, it's a waste of electricity. So I will reach out to them and try and get that moved up on their schedule or see where they are.
Okay,
I appreciate it.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Do we have any other visitors' requests and comments at this time?
Wow, you move that much. Did he do that intentionally?
First and foremost, thank you all, especially Zach, for all of the work that you put in and how quickly you turned this around. We really appreciate that, the attention, knowing how important it was to so many of us. There were some other issues that we wanted to push back on. I don't know what the procedure is for public comment and how that fits in, how that ties in. When do you want us? Do you want us to start sending you emails as soon as we have comments? Just an explanation of what that process should be.
I think you can comment at any time. I know I get them personally, and I think you realize that when I get it, I forward it to Zach as the professional. So I don't think there's any time that's not a good time if you have a concern, and especially when you think of it, might be the time to put it down. But basically, at this point, with a few minor changes, this will be out. So I mean, you'll have it. And just to be clear, that's the reason why we don't really put things out ahead of time. You can't have two competing documents. So if you have comments now, you can just make them now, or you can wait till you read over it and compare. But there's no limitations on that.
I just didn't know at what point would our comments be taken into consideration and maybe, have a discussion about, different sound ordinance levels that we could discuss rather than this is set and that's what it's going to be. You know what I mean?
I think
Like
everything that
planning
you've
commission
submitted is
meeting?
going to
Yeah,
Zach, and
that
he's
planning
presented to
commission
me as the
meeting.
committee chair, and the planning commission will, just like we get comments from Tri-County Regional Planning, all the information is certainly welcome.
But I think to be fair to Zach and the board, I think when you look at the document, your comments were taken in consideration, everyone's, because it's contained in that document for data centers. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
A
I mean,
lot of them
obviously,
are, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. A lot of the comments and the emails that you sent all of us, the text messages, the phone calls, it's contained in that document. And yeah, I think Commissioner Conley's dead on what he's saying. Send an email. We get emails 24/7, so I don't think there's a time frame where it's like
No, but
you
I didn't
can't
know if there was
email.
like a formal process of when, if it goes to Tri.
Oh, go to planning.
first
Hey,
and then
I'd go to
comes
planning
back
commission
and
too. Oh yeah, I'd go to planning
I don't
commission.
know
Okay.
that we can say any of the
Yeah.
things we do is all that formal, so there's that. But
Right. Um, 3 areas that I just had a concern about that weren't addressed at all were decommissioning, site lighting, and well water protections for residents. And there's also the Tri-County Planning Ordinance, specifically recommended lead certification, which is something that is very near and dear to my heart and something that I would volunteer to have done. So if there's any way to get that in as well, that's very high on my list.
The well was in there.
Yes.
The
Yes.
well water was at the well restrictions was in there. That's why I didn't touch
Yeah.
it.
So how it's broken in, how Tri County does it is public, and then there's a private section.
Mhm.
Knowing data centers, they're going to be public systems. However, we do have protections in there. So read over those.
Yeah.
If you still have concerns. Regarding the decommissioning, that's actually was recommended against adding those regulations by our solicitor. Not Scott, it was Zach Rice, because he said it's an over regulation that specifically targets one use, so it could be easily challenged in court. Tri County did not include it either. However, we're worried that it would be challenged.
Okay.
And then
So-
the other one was lead. And then what was the other? I'm sorry, the other one. But the
Site lighting.
site lighting is addressed. It's not specifically there. It says in there a photometric plan. However, if you go to our zoning ordinance, other ordinances still apply, even though it's not in the use specific criteria. They 100% have to have a photometric plan, which you're not allowed to go above. I think it's 0.5 foot candles above the beyond the property boundary. Lead, that's out of my expertise, but I didn't see many model ordinances that were not from environmental lobbying groups that require lead.
They didn't require it. It was a guidance.
Oh,
The Tri-
guidance.
The
Oh, okay.
Tri-County did. And it's something that I see a lot. We review data centers all the time, and
Yeah.
it's not something that's hugely burdensome to projects, especially ones with multi-million-dollar pockets.
Yeah. If it's a guidance, I don't see a problem with it. If it's a should and not a shall,
Yeah.
yeah. Send that over to me. But planning commission is really where we dig
Bless
into the
you.
weeds.
It was a sneeze.
Just to reiterate, it does call for a water feasibility study, which again, some of it's going to fall under the rates, rules, and regulations of sewer, which calls for the same thing. This does require the location of existing and proposed wells within 1,000 feet of the property boundary line. So that covers the well two part of the feasibility study. And then how the water is going to be used, the means to recycle, to discharge, and things of that nature. So it is in there. And then it's also on the other side too, where we're the wastewater side as well, the restrictions that we put in over there.
It's a lot to unpack.
It's a lot, but you
It
gave us
is.
a lot in a short amount of time.
Yep.
You know,
We
but
did, and
it's
we
a comprehensive
appreciate you.
document.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hello, Jen Kennedy, 1121 Terry Drive. I also want to thank you guys for all the work. I'm really happy with what we have, and I appreciate you guys listening and taking our thoughts and concerns into consideration. So thank you. Oh, and I also want to note that you were going over the traffic violations. You know how I was talking about high speed? I was not one of those. Oh, no. Just so you know. So we're clear. That
Thank you for
wasn't me.
clarifying that.
And I know Jaren brought up the lighting. I noticed that wasn't in there, but you guys did address that, so I'll look at that a little closer. The decommissioning was the other thing, and I know you just addressed that as well. I wanted to ask about the 75% capacity of the land, because if I'm right, it's 280 acres is the golf course. So that would be, we're allowing them to build 75%?
No, I think it only said 50% of building.
50%
50%
building
Yeah,
and
50% of the
seventy-five
Are you
percent
sure? I
impervious.
thought,
Yeah.
because I know the Dauphin County one had 50%.
Yeah, it modeled that ordinance.
We were actually a little bit stricter.
Yeah.
In the model ordinance, it's 75% impervious. So
That's what.
Okay, that's what.
Yeah, but you can only build on 50% of the
the
It's
building.
still
total.
pretty big. I know that's along with the Dauphin County, but I'm still thinking that's 100 acres of a building. That wouldn't be. I don't know who's saying no, but
No,
Yeah,
from
well,
out
I
there,
mean,
yeah.
if you think about the two sites, 400 acres, 50%. So you could look at it the other way that there's so much that's not a building, because we get into that with other, warehousing and retail and things like that. So if it's 50-50 and it's 400, you're saying, oh my God, it's 200 acres that they're building on.
The 100 that they're leaving undeveloped.
Yeah, but they're also
Yeah,
leaving, like that's a protection we're putting in as opposed to letting them do what they want.
yeah.
So, and I get what you're saying, but there's similar things on residential building and other commercial building. And the whole point is we want to have a regulation that prevents them from building, property line to property line.
And right now, it's actually 80%
Yeah.
and 60%. So we're actually making it more restrictive
Significant.
for
Fine.
data centers
Okay.
than any other.
Which one's the
use.
80 exactly? 80% that they can build on.
80% is the impervious.
So counting parking lots and everything, they could cover the
Yep.
surface. So
Right.
I mean,
Now-
it was a protection to put in to keep some more open space or green space.
Okay.
And we're trying not to be so over burdensome that we get sued.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
I understand.
But it is less than what's currently allowed.
But then you got to have 50 acres to build anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's one of the requirements.
And I think the Tri-County had a 300-foot setback.
Right. So we did a lot of discussion with that, Commissioner Connolly and myself, and what we decided on was, or what we recommending is 3 times what we currently require. So currently we require a 70-foot setback. So we tried to not be over burdensome that we're going to get sued, but we're still more restrictive than we currently are. So we times it by 3.
I was wondering where 210 came from.
Yeah.
Kind of an odd
Yeah,
number.
we had to do some math there.
You got to give those up, Zach.
Yeah.
You got to give those up, man. That's good stuff. This year.
But we
You
also
put more restrictions than what we had already.
Yeah, one and the other thing that I don't know if we really talked about it, but 120-foot height. People were talking about the height. I mean, we knocked 15 feet. So any place that we felt that we could do something, reasonable to move it our way, but not be so extreme that someone challenged it and then it went to court and someone else made the decision. So we had to balance it. But we're also lucky with these sites that this would be from the property line and no one's home's right on the property. You know what I mean? So you actually have distance, and we had looked at basically we feel like we got the 300 foot or very close to it because of from the residential property is what what I mean. Like no one in either area that we selected is right up on.
What about those people on Harrisburg Street or what's that? Is it Manor?
Mars.
Mars?
There's
Aren't they?
Yeah, I don't. When we looked at that side, I think we have. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it because we don't have a development plan, but we think that there's reasons that we picked the site, and in general, there's some topography, there's some wetlands, there's some things that already built in a buffer that we didn't have to regulate. And the thing about picking these sites, if you looked at them on the map there, highway on the old Stein farm. So nobody's over there. So I mean, realistically, no one wants to be the one across the street and be close to it.
Right.
But these weren't dropped in the middle of a square with 4 residential sides with people built up. So we felt that in a lot of places the 300 will look so small compared to what is going to be the buffer and be the setbacks. And that's the majority of the site. And you generally don't get that. When somebody's coming in trying to build something, it's just the lay of the land here. So, I mean, we get what you're saying, and we think we've accomplished what you wanted. without really opening the door for a challenge where somebody would say, you know, you had it at this amount and you doubled it. That's okay. Tripled it, we might not challenge it, but you went 4 or 5, you know what I mean? We don't want to go that far. And that's kind of how everything was there. You know, a lot of, and everything that, like when Zach says we talked about, Zach's the professional. He's running it by me, but we're going off of Tri-County Regional Planning. We're going off other things submitted by the public, all these suggestions, and then we're trying to make it work with the legal requirements. And not saying that you always do get sued, but we think we have good legal, you know, representation to put us in a spot where we could prevent it from happening. So, you know,
And
we're not saying that if we
unfortunately, a
said,
lot of experience.
yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
happened.
So, you know, and that's kind of you know, how it works here. We're here to get the best for the public, and at the same time, to overregulate it and risk it being pushed back farther than what we should have done or could have done isn't going to benefit anybody. You know, we talked about that. If you don't want them, then you want 2,000 foot, 1,000 foot, 800, 500 foot. But there's already you know, rules and regulations that we're trying to enhance to protect the public. And you know, the same comment Commissioner Steele said, and I think everybody here that was giving us the ideas, you're the most you know, kind of vocal out front. You're coming to the meetings. We're getting a lot of that. And when you emailed the first time, probably had just as much of an impact and effect as you coming here. And we like you coming, but giving us the thoughts and ideas. Realistically, we were already working. Like we had our own stuff that we're working on, and that just tells us we're on the right track. When somebody comes with, you know, the same thing, I'm not saying that we had everything, but you know, hearing it, um, we were working on this before you were coming to the meetings,
Yeah.
you know, to get there. And then, you know, there was a lot of directions we can go, a lot of options. And, you know, sometimes, you know, somebody that's consistently putting something out that's very close to what we're working on makes us feel like we're on the right track. And I think that's kind of what was happening through the process. We would get people that have one individual concern, and then you know, if it was addressed, they weren't all encompassing in their approach to it. And I honestly feel like the Tri-County Regional Planning Model Ordinance was a lot of what we were doing here early on in conversations that we had. And I think, you know, I think they did a good thing with it. But if you look in there, there's a lot of when possible, or you know, there's a lot of things like that. And they have a really good ordinance that would fit like that perfect cookie cutter that's coming in here, and we want all these things, as opposed to this is the shape of the land, this is the lay of the land. So don't think that we didn't try to do everything that we could. And you know, I have some other thoughts. Like, I don't know, it's not over. So I think, you know, all the commissioners here will take time and provide additional information. The planning commission's very open, and things change. So if we see something that we can enhance or increase in our favor over the next so many days because it's happened somewhere else or it held up, we'll take that into consideration. If we see something that we put in that's been challenged and didn't work in the favor of what we want, we'll think about that too. But you know, I appreciate all the time you take. I mean, we sit here on a multitude of issues, and people come all the time. You didn't have to do this, you know, so it's definitely appreciated.
No, I appreciate it. I was pleasantly surprised that it was as robust as it was. So I appreciate the work on it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for your advocacy.
I was just wondering, you guys brought something up about being challenged in court, and if we are so concerned about being challenged in court, what are we doing financial for fees of basically avoiding the company doing whatever it wants, no matter what kind of rules we have on the paper? You know, holdback doesn't exist anymore. Can we have a percentage of the cost of this data center go into escrow, so when they break contract, when they just decide to dig their wells that are unpermitted, that escrow can come back to what are we doing to protect ourselves legally so that the company knows that we're just not a couple of rules on the paper. Are we gonna? Is the solicitor able to start like perhaps an escrow protection plan for us? Because it's kind of like a hearts game. You know, the one company will do excavating, the other guy will come in, and you don't know. No one really owns anything. We're leasing, we're renting. So, what financial, kind of comeuppance can we have so that these companies aren't? They've played the game all over the country. They know what they're doing. They know our next move. They have the playbook. So perhaps we need to make it more restrictive so that we're not so desirable of a location that they want to come here. I know we can't make a tax up, but we could ask them to have a percentage of the project fee put in escrow.
We're already ahead of them with
Yeah.
restrictions.
Okay.
We got an escrow account. What they just put out and worked on, we're already ahead of curve. The next thing we only got to do is put something at stormwater, and we're straight across all three entities.
By the way, I don't think solar is a good investment for the storm.
Solar?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good investment for the stormwater plant, for the sewer plant that you were doing last week.
No, that was just a presentation.
That was a vendor.
I don't think we should do it. Let's hold out for the mini reactors.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
So to answer her question, the developers agreement
Yeah.
is going to protect us, and financial security, which we already require. So don't worry. Understood.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Pinter again. Thank you for your work on the ordinance. I had mostly just a couple of questions. My one pushback is I think that the fact that Tri-County put forward restrictions in some cases that are slightly more robust is a layer of legal protection that we should consider. We can say, look, we understand you're upset about this, but this is what our county is recommending. And, I think that seems like a reasonable way to defend, but not here to litigate that specific point. I did have two questions. First of all, would it be possible for a developer to get an exemption to any of these rules, like going through the zoning hearing board or anything like that?
Yes, they can get a variance on zoning regulations, not saldo regulations. However, they have to show a legal hardship, and it can't be financial.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. I was just curious about that. And then that would go through the zoning hearing board, and then those meetings are open to the public?
100%.
Okay, great. My other question, which is a little bit more specific, you had included some language regarding the backup generators and when they can and cannot be used. And it basically just said for emergency purposes. I was wondering if those, sorry, I don't know what's going on with this.
Cut off. So yeah, we can hear you. Just keep going.
Gotcha. I was wondering if those high energy demand days where there might not be a power outage, but the grid is severely strained.
If I remember reading it correctly, it's only for emergency purposes.
Yeah, so it would not follow like the PJM, like pre-emergency procedures. It would only be like if there is an outage in place.
Correct.
Okay.
Or testing, which they're allowed to do as well.
Right. Okay.
Like a UPS system.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Double check me, but I'm pretty positive.
Okay. Yeah, I was just not sure like what the definition of emergency for the purposes of the reg was. So thank you.
They can't create the emergency. I get what you're saying. Like, they can't say, "Hey, we have an emergency now. We need to do this." That's
right.
It's not.
Well, that and there are going to be.
They're not able to draw enough energy. That was your concern,
right?
Yes, there are certain situations in which producers might be asked to reduce their load, and those are generally voluntary programs. But just kind of thinking ahead to what do those procedures end up looking like in the long run? But I don't have super specific thoughts on that right now, so I just wanted to get some information and can follow up when I have more. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Should you put a reverb on that mic?
No, like I said, intuitively you think to get closer to it, but it gets worse when you get closer to it. So
That's that DJ language, huh?
I don't know about this.
He hooked you up.
Yeah.
DJ.
Michael Tucky, 5875 against Merlane. When's the next planning commission meeting?
It will be
July 14th.
July 14th
At 7?
7 p.m.
Next planning commission meeting, July 14th at 7. I just wanted to make 2 announcements. Bressler's Friendship Fire Company picnic is this Sunday, June 14th, from noon to 8 p.m. if anyone's interested. Also, Chambers Hill Fire Company has their chicken barbecue June 20th. That's Saturday and normally starts no later than 10:30 and until we sell out. And I hope everyone has a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to make comments?
Just a quick follow-up question. If they, for whatever reason, especially in these emergency situations, if they exceed the zoning code in any situation, what's the enforcement? What's the punishment? They get fined? They get
Yes. So we operate on a complaint basis. So say the facility's fully done, they did their noise study, they did everything, they complied, they got their certificate of occupancy.
right,
We receive a complaint from a neighbor saying, hey, their generators are running constantly.
right.
We then go out. You have to do a written complaint. We then go out. We have a decibel reader. We don't have a DCB reader. However, we do have a decibel reader. And we will go out, go to the property line of where the complaint's going. If it's above, we issue a notice of violation. They have 5 days to make the correction, business days. If it's no longer, if it's over, issue's abated. It's over. If it's not, we then send a certified letter. They have an additional 5 business days. We'll go back out, retest. If it's still a problem, we then issue a citation to the local MDJ. The fine is up to $600 per day. That is a state law. I wish I could make it 1,000.
Yeah.
So we can't
Yeah.
write anything into the ordinance to make them not capable of operating if they're exceeding ordinances.
And the silly thing about the fines, the MDJ sets the fines. We don't set the fines. So if it gets worse, we do have mechanisms where we can get our attorney involved, and Steve would know more about this than I do, but basically an injunction where the judge would then say you have so many days to correct it. If not, then they can issue higher fines, but that's legal. But there are ways. It's just like if a property's.
I don't think money's the solution in this case, though.
Well, that's why we would have to go to county court, and then the judge would actually issue an injunction stating you have to correct the problem or X, Y, Z. Steve, am I on the right path? Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
There's limited recourse that we can impose ourselves without seeking court approval.
So there's nothing we can write into the ordinance at this point to.
We just, again,
We
it's like if
we will
anybody
put-
else violates something, we have to go through the same
This
process.
isn't anybody else. This is something different.
Understood, but that's not what the law says. You know what I mean? Like, we can't.
Yeah, it's something bigger. It's something more expensive. It's something presumably full of money, but that doesn't change the laws that
Yeah.
we have to operate under. So we'll have escrow to the maximum extent permitted by law, but it's not like we can just set aside their money and say, anytime you violate the ordinance, we're taking it from you. There are processes we need to follow.
Outside
I,
something.
I don't like it. I don't like it any more than some of you, but we have to follow the law.
Yeah.
Outside the police and what they can do. Government's red tape.
I was thinking the same.
It's red tape.
Yeah.
And we don't have a big stick or a large bite.
Right. We're at the
What you're saying
bottom
happens, right?
of all of that and get told what to
Makes me
do.
feel like, well, like all the work that we just did is for naught because they're going to do whatever they want. They come in.
Well, I
Start
mean,
writing.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna be that pessimistic, but it's definitely not for naught. Because we could be in the position where we have none of it and they would just do whatever they want. But you know, obviously again, we're here to do what we can. And if that's a situation, then we'll address it. We've had to do things like that where we had to get courts involved with developers and things like that that weren't being held to what they agreed to. So we have experience with that too, unfortunately. So, yep. Do we have anybody else? I think we only have like 3 people that didn't come up, maybe 4.
They're just gonna ask you one question.
You helped with the pronunciation.
Yes. Yes. So thank
issue
you for that
before.
input. Yes.
It sounded like a fine wine, like that Rogale.
Like fragile because it's Italian. No, all right. All right, we're going to move on from visitors' requests and comments then. We're up to, this is on every agenda, possible stormwater violations for investigation. As always, let us know if you come across anything like that. 18, commissioners' requests and comments, additional business and correspondence. Commissioner Douglas.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out and tuning in. I want to say thank you, Commissioner Still. Almost everything you were saying, I was slowly deleting off my list. So I end up with stuff that was can be considered petty, but it's a lot of verbiage that's kind of misspelled. So it's something that just look over it again. Okay, and I just highlighted that, so I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But other than that, it's great. Thank you for coming out. And please continue to come. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Commissioner Ray.
Good evening. Always happy to see you all. And please keep coming. We're happy to have you as our residential. Keep supporting. And we are always here for you. Your voice is our first priority. Thank you. Have a wonderful good night.
Thank you. Commissioner Connolly.
Yeah, I want to thank the board, the citizens, Zach. I mean, Kevin played a big role with a lot of questions. Other employees, Zach Ray, Steve, Scott. The legal opinions that we get, and I think it's pretty interesting that the thing that brought a lot of people out is concern, number one, and then more or less anger with an issue that was kind of just thrown on us too. And I just want to reiterate that. I think everybody up here would be fine with a golf course and a farm. I live on Harrisburg Street, not as close to the area as the some of the people here, but a lot closer than many others in the township. And there's some uncertainty. We don't have a plan. Obviously, we've been expecting a plan. We don't know the timing. We don't control it. But I'll say this: the ideas that you have sometimes could be for other agencies too. And maybe you do go. Maybe you speak to the next level of government. But we're very limited in the rules that we have. And I think the very first speaker of the night, had an issue with high grass and weeds. And that's something that we think we shouldn't have. You know, it's somebody's property, cut your grass, take care of it. Unfortunately, government ends up having to step in to do all of these things, some minor, some major. And our level of government doesn't have the power that, you know, we wish we did have to protect everybody here. And, you know, my thoughts, and I certainly am going to lobby, you know, higher levels, because if the rules that we worked under, you know, gave us more power or someone else regulated it, we wouldn't have a lot of the issues that we have. So this is in no way saying don't come here, because you know, it's fine if you do, but there may be other places, and you know, maybe collectively, you know, more voices together could put something. And I'm not even thinking data center now. I'm going back to the skills games. So, you know, you have an issue with these skills games, and then there's no regulation. And then we wonder why there's no regulation. Then we look at the campaign finance reports of the people at higher levels than us, and they take money from the skills games. So we're asking if somebody could regulate the skills games for our benefit at our level, and it doesn't happen. And then we find out the people that we go to make the rules and the laws are actually financially benefiting by not making the laws and the rules stricter. No one up here has a full-time job here. You know, we get a stipend for the meetings, and when there's a hot topic, we put in hours and hours. And again, I just want to say, this is my first time in 3 terms overseeing code, zoning, and planning, and it's a lot of work. You know, it very easily could have been any one of us that wasn't me who was the point person who's, you know, working with Zach and kind of dealing with the public. And I'm happy that I took it. And I feel like, you know, I'm doing everything I can to protect the residents. It doesn't mean there can't be more, you know, if it's brought to me. But, you know, I appreciate the work that everybody put in. And I'm just going to pivot. Um, you know, we have great public safety officials. And for those guys to sit there for 2 hours, there was a flaw in the system while they were getting hit with pies. They should have had one person per half an hour, or, you know, but they just sat there. And I was at the event, and yes, my grandson was one of the people that whacked them with a pie. But I mean, that just shows like their commitment to the community too. So appreciate that. Superintendent Stauffer. I don't know if Chief Eberson will watch the meeting, but that was impressive. I saw Harrisburg firefighter Riddle was there, and Corporal Pocrop. So, um, you know, those are the kind of things that warm my heart about our community. You know, we go to an event and there's hundreds of people, and this happened at Chambers Hill, but a lot of us have been able to go to the other schools and see, and that's really what, you know, all this is about, trying to make the community better for everybody, and for us and taxpayers, but to have a, you know, a safe place and good regulations and all these things in place for the next generation to come up. Um, I think we certainly take it seriously, and I appreciate all the help and support that the people who come here have given us. So thank you, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Vice President Steele.
Yep, I'll keep it very brief. Thank you for every single one of you that came out and joined us in person and logged in online. Hopefully you get home safe and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Connolly jogged my memory of something that I was going to say when we were going over the police report. So it was brought up that crimes are going down, but calls for services are going up. So just sit with that for a moment. That means more people are calling the police. We're out in the public more often, but the crimes aren't being committed. So that means because we have these interactions, these contacts, these positive things like that, we're able to prevent things that could have escalated to something further. So you don't usually see that. If there are more calls, you would think more people would be being charged with things. So I do want to highlight that. I think that's something positive for our police department, that we're interacting with people quite often, but we're getting to a point where the trend for crime is going down. We're a big community. We have neighboring communities where that may or may not be the case. So I just wanted to highlight that. I think that's something that is definitely a positive and something to be commended for our police department. So
Can I steal some thunder from you real quick?
go ahead.
On the police thing, because I was talking to an elected official from a neighboring municipality. And I want you to really understand how fortunate we are in Swatara Township. If you call the police department for a stolen bike,
We come.
a police officer is
Yeah.
going to come. There's other places, they tell you come down and fill out a report.
Yeah.
That tells you how good our police department is. Just wanted to
And to elaborate on that too, it might not even be a stolen bicycle. It could be like domestic disputes, things like that, that really should have police attention. They may or may not show up in some of our neighboring municipalities, which is sad. But unfortunately, that's the reality of the times that we live in. So, on a happier note, I do want to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers, the dads, the father figures, because we won't have a meeting between now and then. And that's all I have. Thank you to you guys that stuck with us to the end of the meeting. I do hope that you'll continue to come. Thank you to everyone that takes the time to watch these meetings online. I hope everyone that's here gets home safely. And I wish everyone a good evening. So with that, I will entertain a motion for
Motion.
adjournment. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 10:07 p.m.